I watched the trailer for the new Han Solo movie at 5:30 in the morning on the toilet and cried like a baby.
I've just been on the edge to where, like, you want chicken on your salad? No, I don't want fucking chicken on my salad. That's what I want to do.
I'm just left to just be my own like cesspool of just like depression and anger and angst, you know, while she's just like sunshine and takes care of everything.
I needed it to hurt, like painfully as possible in my throat. I'm just like 16 degrees. That's too fucking cold for the daytime.
All right, we are live. Welcome to Long Walk Short Drink, episode 45. Colt 45.
Yes, indeed.
It's
Greetings,
the Colt-
Long Walkers.
It's the Colt 45 special. This is Palmer podcasting from Dayton, Ohio.
And this is Dave podcasting at you from Northfield, Minnesota.
Welcome, Long Walkers. It is so fucking great to be here.
Yes, I was needing this.
I know, man. It's like I text earlier today, like, are we still recording? Because we've grown. We've mentioned this a few times, but we've kind of grown into this. I don't want to say that we're taking the show for granted, because I don't think that's what it is. I mean, we're obviously still very appreciative. I feel that both of us still are of the show, but we're like, well, we'll just talk about that on the show. So I feel like we have this like radio silence almost like during the week where it's like, well, I'll just save that for the show. And I forget half the shit that happens during the week that I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait. I should text this to Dave. No, I'll just save it for the show. Usually though, I've been better if I have the like, oh, I should text this to Dave. I'll just text it instead of, I used to be really bad about no, save it for the show. And then I would forget it. So, but yeah. That's why today, we had that radio silence, and I'm like, well, let's see if he still wants. Yeah, all right. Thank goodness. Thank
Absolutely.
goodness.
Yeah, I do that probably a little bit too, but I'm also just kind of I'm not good about reaching out in general.
Oh yeah, no.
Last night I almost did because we went to see a Quiet Place, and I almost texted you just to tell you that, just so you knew it, because I knew we were talking, or just for fun. But I was totally guilty. I'm like, I'll just tell him tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, how was that?
It was amazing. It was so cool.
Is it like super scary?
Yeah, I mean, it was very. I actually am not sure. I can't think of the last time or if I've ever been so physically tense in a movie.
Oh man, Ash will not be able to handle it.
No, she should not go.
Yeah.
It's a lot of jump scares too, which I'm not a fan of jump scares, but it's very necessary for the conceit of the movie or premise of the movie, and yeah, it was. I was very, very impressed.
Well, there's nobody in Dayton to see scary movies with, and so I have to see them by myself. And I feel like just about anything I'll see by myself. That doesn't bother me at all. But scary movies are definitely much more enjoyed with at least one other person there, So you can jump together and laugh together and like all that stuff. So it's really, it is super hard.
That's what she said.
It is super hard though to find somebody that wants to go see a scary movie anymore. So
that sucks. Yeah. I wish I lived closer.
I wish you did too. That would be so amazing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to retweet our.
Oh no, go ahead.
There we go. Retweet our link to the live stream. There we go. And then that's done. yeah, no, I am so absolutely thoroughly pumped for that movie. It looks so fantastic, and all the buzz around it, and like I love the story that Emily Blunt tells, where she finished the script and was like, essentially like made him fire the woman that he had cast to be his wife. It was like, no, I have to be the
I
wife,
hadn't heard that. That's amazing.
Well, she told the story like where she said that she had to do it, but somewhere it blurbed across, I forget who reported it, said that they had cast somebody and she didn't make him fire, but like she wanted to be the wife, so they recast.
That was a good move. I mean, she was amazing. They were both really fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, notably so. I've been kind of, I don't know, I had a bit of a bad taste in my mouth about John Krasinski because I saw him, I think he was promoting that, he did some kind of war movie.
13 Hours.
13 Hours, yes, which I know zero about. But in promoting that on one of the late night talk shows, he said something about save so many, like this mission or whatever, save so many American lives. And it's silly, but that just bugged me. I'm like, and I'm sure this is not what he meant. It's like an innocent statement, but it got just stuck in my head. This like, what do you mean American lives? Like, so if there's two people standing next to each other and someone dies that's not American, it's not as important. Like literally their life is not counted in the number. Whatever. I'm sure he meant none of that.
Right.
But it just bugged me. And yeah, completely. I mean, not irrational. I just explained it, but certainly not very well founded or justified like beef for me to have.
Right.
So, and I knew that, and I just hadn't had another sort of.
We have plenty of those. It's okay to have it.
I guess I just felt like
it's not okay, but we have plenty of those. We have plenty of like.
Yeah. I just like I don't want to be.
Why
mad
do I hate Val Kilmer?
I know. Well, like, I don't like Richard Gere. I don't need a reason. I don't like the guy. I don't have to. But and that's based on nothing. I just don't like this vibe.
See, hipsters, don't get us started on bicyclists or hipsters. There's an hour right there gone.
Yeah. But I didn't want to be mad at John Krasinski, I guess, and I was kind of frustrated. I had a couple of moments where I'm just like, fuck this guy for some reason or other. I don't know. And I was like, I don't want to feel that way. So even seeing the previews for this movie, I was like, for some reason I started to resist seeing him in these kind of macho roles. Like he played Jack Ryan as well. I'm just like, okay, Jim from The Office, which is so shitty of me. I'm just like, where does this resentment come from? Like, why am I trying to deny him this? But
it's because we're dicks. Sometimes we're dicks. That's
God, that's the other thing I've been repeating in my head. Like, I've done so much. Anyway, that's another topic. Dicks. It's been established. But this movie helped me move past that. Like I was able to sort of just reset my Krasinski clock or something, and so I'm back on board. He really did an amazing job with that movie. Like it's I haven't seen that. I've not seen that movie before.
Yeah.
You know, in a time of all these reboots and remakes and everything is based on something. This was, I think, an original idea.
Two guys wrote it, and then he finished it. He like polished the script. And
I had initially heard he wrote it, and which I didn't. That wasn't corrected for me until the closing credits. I was like, oh, even so. But even just as a directorial thing, it was really remarkable.
It looks fantastic. So I'm going to unpack a couple things there. Yeah.
Let's crack our beverage.
Shit. Yeah. So Long Walkers, it is for all of our zero viewers right now. It is episode 45. We decided to celebrate with a good old. I have a 24-ounce Colt 45. Well, two of those, so I can do the double.
40.
I can do the. And you got a 40.
Yeah, I do.
In a paper bag. That's so awesome.
I have it in a paper bag.
Oh man! So let's crack this malt liquor.
Yeah,
it's the Long Walk Short Drink Colt 45 episode. On 3, 3. Awesome.
Cheers.
This is gonna be like this. We're gonna be so fucking sloppy by the end of this episode.
Shout out to Pumps actually from in the last episode he suggested this.
Oh,
I don't love it. It's all right though.
It's not. I mean, it's not like you're. We're gonna do the 4 Loko test since I have the 24-ounce can. If I get to the bottom of this and the can is crushed at all, the more crushed it is the worse the actual alcohol is.
Oh, you mean wait? Why? How does that work?
Because you're just like so angry you have to keep drinking it. You just like squeeze harder.
I have to keep mine in the bag. I'm gonna see if I can try that. I actually had to go to 3 places to get this.
See what that like? There's something against 40s, I think, nowadays.
Or a Colt 45 of any kind. Like I started with the places on the way home that had the best selection. I can't keep it in the bag, so
Yeah.
Whatever that phrase means, I'm sure that's also true. But yeah, I would go. They didn't have any, and I had I've been having a hard time just being a person, keeping my shit together, and trying really hard to just like not freak out moment to moment. Just like. So when the lady asked me, it's like the lady asked, I mean, this is an exaggeration, but I've just been on the edge to where like, you want chicken on your salad? No, I don't want fucking chicken on my salad. That's what I want to do. To just like everything that anyone will say.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, you can't. And so I'm like, you're constantly like, okay, white knuckling it. And then I'm on the way home and I had thought about doing this, but I was already running behind. And I was like, fuck. And then I was like, you know what? We'll have a laugh about this. I should try. And I went to the first place and they didn't have it. And then I was like, okay, that's all right. I don't want to be any more late. I'm like, I'm not going to try other places. And then I go like a few blocks down the road and there's like a fancy grocery store. See, that's a trouble here too. If I could go to a gas station, I think and buy alcohol, I think I would have found this. But I have to go to liquor stores here in Minnesota. And so this, I think, was just not the neighborhood or something. I don't know, whatever that means. But they didn't stock anything of that sort. So they definitely weren't going to have it. I decided at the fancy grocery store. But I was in the turn lane for a minute, and then like there was nobody coming in the straight lane, and it was green. I was like, fuck it. And I just pulled out. I was like, I don't need to do this. It'll be all right. We'll have fun anyway. We don't need this prop. And then I was at another turn to get on the highway home, and I'm like, if I do that same move again, I could actually go to like, they call them Total Wines. They're like a fucking warehouse of alcohol. They're amazing.
Wow.
And I was like, they'll have it. They've got to have it. They have everything. And it's a fucking warehouse of alcohol. So I went there. And they didn't carry it either. And I was like, God damn it. And the bride calls me to check in. And I've done I say good job. I don't know. I've been able to like keep myself from snapping at her at least today. On chats and whatever. And then I answered the phone like, hello. I'm just a dick. Yes. It caught me in that one, like and then I was mad because I was like, fuck, I was doing so well. And then I'm going to go to another place. There's like this MGM, or I don't know. It's like, it's more of I was like, I could picture it there. Maybe these other places decide it's beneath them to have malt liquor, but they're going to have it in this place. And they did. So.
Oh my gosh. It's like looking in a goddamn mirror. Jesus. Like
so,
all of it. Like
you had a day too.
Like, man. This morning I so my wife takes care of me like so much more than any other person has ever taken care of me ever, right?
Yeah, ditto here.
Yeah. I mean, just literally like I'm just left to just be my own like cesspool of just like depression and anger and angst, while she's just like sunshine and takes care of everything, right? Like I handle the money, I handle the cake, I handle the laundry. Like those are the 3 things that I take care of, and she does everything else, right? And on top of constantly going out of her way to help me. And so last night we're going to bed, and I have to go into Columbus because it's Wednesday, the night before. It's Tuesday night. She knows I have to go into Columbus the next day. She's going to has to work late into the evening. She knows that I'm going to record. So she's like, I'm going to go make coffee, and set the timer. Is 4:45 okay? And I'm like, yep, that's perfect. Cause I usually get up at like 4:40, and then I'll be, and so like I shot out of bed by like 4:50 today. I shower, get everything, and like get all ready, and I go and I look in the kitchen and I go to check the coffee because I know I still have about a half an hour before I'm ready to walk out the door. I check the coffee maker and see the lights on. I'm like, sweet, the timer kicked on, right? And finish all that stuff and then go back to the thing. And she must have set it for like 5:45 instead of 4:45. And so she had already done this amazingly nice thing. All I had to do was hit brew and just wait for that. And I'm just like, what the fuck is the point of helping somebody if you're going to biff it at the last second? Like, and I'm just like, that's going on in my head. And I'm just like, what? Like, and then I walk out and I'm like, you're a fucking asshole. Like, you're an asshole. Like, what? So you had to wait 20 more minutes for the coffee to brew. Like, who cares? You know, like, yeah, no, I totally get that shit. And then you get into this like vicious like cycle of, I don't know, anger and meanness, where it's just like, you're angry, and because you're angry, you snap, and then you get mad at yourself for snapping, and so you're angry more, and then you snap, and then it's just like, and it's like the more that they try to like calm you down or help you or just like get you to talk through it, you're just like, you know.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good at like, I don't know. I'm usually pretty good at not snapping. I feel like the ratio is pretty good.
Yeah.
But the feelings behind it are still there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the rest of the cycle too, because for me, I always, the bride told me one time this thing. She's like, I wish I could remember it better, but it was something like, then you feel bad for feeling bad. Like you feel like you shouldn't feel some certain way, whether it's whatever the feeling is, I guess, anything other than joy or something good. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And so that doesn't help. I don't know. Yeah, I just have trouble being a person.
Me too. I do too. I hate it.
Well, it's definitely circumstantial, but I feel like it's just too often. you know? And so much of it, I would say, really comes down to the frustration of there not being enough hours in the day, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes they're legitimate, like, interpersonal stuff or work issues or whatever, but a lot of times it comes down to that, like, crazed frustration that I get. And today, like, and I did finally get home, the dog had... And I knew the bride had been gone for only a short time because that's what she called to check in about. But she'd taken the puppies to the prairie, but the older one we don't take every day anyway. So she didn't take her, but it let her outside. But instantly, anyways, the Maggie like just peed a river. And after everything, to come in and see that and know like I gotta clean that up too, or I could not clean it up. Like when I did see the bride, she was like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave you a river of piss just so I could start on time. But exactly. I saw that and I was just like, fuck. So I still had got my layers on. I got like a leather jacket and fucking hunting vest. I don't know what kind of vest it is, but it's layered up. I have my green Doc Martens on still. And like these kind of newer jeans that are still tight. I go out with black jeans. I look so stupid now that I picture it. I go out of the garage and I just start wailing on the strike bag. I'm like, this has got to help.
Oh, when it rains, it fucking pours, man.
Yeah. I think it did, I guess. But then I got inside and I was like, okay. And a few minutes later, at some point, as I'm actually kneeling down and trying to soak up all the piss. Sorry, I just remembered. So going back and forth between this room, and I passed the thermostat. It's an ongoing battle in the house, the temperature.
Yeah.
We both sleep hot, so I don't mind it being down. It's always set in the winters or whenever it's colder, down to 55 degrees at night. Pretty cold.
Yeah, that is cold.
But I don't know. But like during the day and stuff, I don't want it to be. And if if it's over 62, she calls it cranking the heat. Literally over 62. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we keep it like 68 degrees in our house, and that's cold.
I feel like it's colder now than it used to be. Like it's 62 has been the thing. And so I saw 60 and I'm cold like already for some reason. And I'm uncomfortable, this screaming headache, all of the things I've been talking about. And I'm past the thing that's in my head. I have like the paper towels in my hand and I just stop because she's not here or anything. The dog's downstairs. And I just screamed as loudly as painfully, because I wanted it to like, I needed it to hurt like painfully as possible in my throat. I'm just like 60 degrees. That's too fucking cold for the daytime. And I had like squeezed the paper towels into like a mess, like the whole roll. Like I just crushed it.
Oh, buddy.
It was a mess. I'm feeling better by the second, but it's like, where is all that come from?
I was trying to tell Ash, my biggest thing is assumptions being made on my behalf and then basing decisions on those assumptions, where like all the communication like happens and I'm actually not involved in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I definitely do that.
And
I got a whole other narrative going on.
Yeah, and then another big one is like I'll say so, like we'll be talking about something, coming to a decision on something, and I'll say something and then she'll say the same thing but just use different words, and I'll say that's exactly what I just said. No, it's not. And then I'll go through and I'll be like, I said this and then you said this and those things mean the same thing. And then I said this and then you said this and those things mean the same thing. And blah, blah, blah. And those things mean the same. Oh, I guess they are the same thing. And part of that is because like of just listening, you know? So that's another big one that we always come back to is listening. And I was like, my job, everything I do in my job, because I work in editorial. So like everything I do in my job, other people tell me their job is to tell me what I did wrong. That's all they do, you know? And then I like fix it, you know? And I think like your job is kind of like that too, in a way. And I think any of that where you're like creating something that's somebody else's vision, it is really like that. That's essentially what you're doing. Like you're trying to materialize their vision. So then, but every iteration you do of that, you have different iterations because all they do is tell you what's wrong with it, you know, of why it's not their vision, you know? Yeah. And so that I don't know. I think there almost needs to be something if you're going to go into a field like that, you know, I mean, and I don't have a degree to do what I do. I have a degree to teach. But it's almost interesting. Like there should be like this psychology associated with that of how to deal with not letting that. I feel like that's really easy to erode your confidence where it's literally your job to be told what you're doing is wrong. And then to come home and then have to constantly just like in a normal relationship, that is a normal part of a relationship is to have criticism and compromise and conversation, all of those things like going back and forth so that if you're doing that at work and then you feel like you have to do that at home, you know, you can't explode at work. Like that pressure still builds up there. And so like home's like the pressure relief for that, and like
Yeah.
it's just like this. I really think that that's a big piece of it, is like this erosion of like I have a career that if you don't keep track of it, it will erode your confidence. It could easily erode your confidence, because I finally had to come to the realization, like, I have this one reviewer who is very absolutely critical. I mean, super critical of things that anyone makes. And I had worked a really long time on a project and turned it in. And I'm trying to use as vague a terms as possible, but still paint the same picture without like zeroing in on anything. And so I turned it in, and it literally got just absolutely dissected and ripped apart in most of it. But there were large chunks of it where there were by comments and edits, like,
oh yeah, like Google Doc kind of comments
like that, but in PowerPoint or Word, you know what I mean? Like where they're inserting comments and
called out,
and it's track changes. So like any changes that get made, like you can see all of that stuff. Yeah. And then there would be like 5 slides with nothing, and so I was like, so none of the comments were anything that I was on track on. All of it was, why is this like, justify why you made this way, or this is not right, And so when I initially looked at that, I'm like, I have no idea if anything I made is right. Like, obviously I didn't do anything right, because there's nothing in here that says this is right. But then I had to just come to the realization, like, for as much comments and edits that are everywhere else, if there was something wrong on those pieces, those would have comments and edits too. So you have to assume that those are right,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that's just a different way of thinking, like, because both ways I think are really logical. They didn't say anything positive about anything that I did. All they said was the things that were wrong. Well, then the things that they didn't comment on are probably right.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that, like, almost no comment is comment then. At
right,
that
but
point.
it certainly doesn't feel that way. It
doesn't
feel like
but like you have to think of it that way, because you're not like the second, and this is, I guess, from a worker standpoint, when I mentioned that to somebody else, I could instantly see in their face, they were like, you just want your ego stroked, like,
oh,
not like that, you know what I mean? But like, and I had to be like, no, I don't need patted on the back. I'm not worried about being patted on the back. I'm going to make whatever you ask me to make, but I need to know what's right so that I can steer towards that and away from what's, like, if all you do is tell me what's wrong, then there could be a million other things that are wrong. I need to know what's right so I can hone in on that, like they just don't
do more of that.
A lot of, there's just not a lot of people don't understand that about criticism, is like positive criticism is just as effective. And you can have positive criticism without just blowing smoke or stroking somebody's ego or anything like that. Right. So I don't know, but so to get back to that, I really think I think in that way our careers might be similar to that. So maybe that might be part of it, where there's just an erosion of confidence, and I know that's something that both of us battle with, like we struggle with even outside of our careers. And that home thing is that pressure release valve. Like I know that's the other, like another thing that we have in common, where we will put on is like, it's almost like the skin, like I have a Palmer skin, that I put on that, I feel like is different than the skin that I might wear when it's just me and Ash around, and which is different than the skin that I wear when I'm in my office. That sounds really sociopathic when you think.
No,
but like
that doesn't. I've heard that a lot actually on the Bruce Lee podcast. They talk about that a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and how the goal that they're striving towards, or perhaps that he espoused or something, was so that you can be the same person in all those places. But they talk about sometimes how in Congress or how that can weird people out in some ways.
Yeah.
And actually, just coincidentally, over time, I actually am not that, I'm not as different as you might think. I've been able to be the same in different situations more as I've gotten older. Like even just recently when we listened back to the Dog Days 10th anniversary thing, or the interview with the WPLMR 10th anniversary about my first album, and I was like, oh, I think I was weirded out trying to switch gears into a different mode when I was with my friend. So, I mean, I could be wrong, obviously, but one of the reasons I know I've gotten, if you can call it better at that, it's just that like I don't behave the way other people behave at my job. And sometimes it seems to be refreshing for people, and I don't know. Yeah, and that's been a hard thing for me at the job as well, to where I think what within the smaller team that I've kind of built, that's been a bad thing. Like they have gotten the clients get the sun and they get the moon. So I've recently too, I've just been unable to hide my anger more and more. And a lot of it is because it's coming from somewhere in this team, and it's coming from something that I've put in place to where, like you were saying before, when all there is to, like the non-comments are actually good comments in a way, because the people whose job it is to make those comments, the constructive ones or whatever, it's that old adage of like, if all you have is a hammer, everything you see are nails. So it's like it's like if you ask somebody for feedback, they're going to give you something, and it's depending on the person, they might not know to. I heard this great phrase about a praise sandwich for criticism. I'd never heard that before the last couple months, where it's like you say something nice about what was presented, you put your thoughts on how to change it or better it in some way, whatever could be seen as constructive criticism, and then at the end you say something else like positive.
Right.
Anyway, but
it's tough. Criticism is, I think criticism is one of those things that should just, I don't know if it should be taught or.
Yeah, I think so.
People should learn how to give good criticism and receive criticism, right? Yeah. I struggled with this when I was teaching and doing curriculum development, like in my school and everything, where I would make something and I would spend a long time on it, and then I would finally share it with somebody, and I'd be like, "Can you let me know what you think about this?" And I had spent a lot of time, and I know you are gonna you're gonna be like, I deal with this all the time, because for as much as you've created throughout your lifetime, I'm sure this is what happens, and I'm probably guilty of this with you actually, where I'll send it out, and I'm hoping for some kind of good constructive feedback that I can use. This looks great. I'm not going to show it to you if it's shit. This looks great. This looks great is not, that doesn't help me at all. You know what I mean? Like that's just not good criticism. So,
yeah. No.
So, one thing, first off, Double D texted me. He's like, go figure. It's the Trump episode and it begins with a river full of piss.
Oh yeah.
And it's all about a river of piss. Jeez.
Yeah, that if I could write a biography of that asshole, that's what it'd be called.
A river of piss.
The Donald Trump story.
The other thing, so this piece, this long walk started with you talking about A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video called A Dwight Place?
No.
Okay.
I can't wait. Oh right. My God.
So, you probably want to click that link that I have in there.
I actually, when I was at a meeting yesterday and I walked into someone's office and they had the Dwight bobblehead on their desk. Oh. Which reminds me, because the first thing I did, I'm like, that's amazing. I'd never seen one in real life. And I I was like, can I take a picture of that to send to my wife? And I haven't shared it with her yet. So maybe it'll be small pittance for the irritating way in which I treated her earlier.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm always up for some Dwight.
All
Dwight
right.
makes everything okay.
On 3 and 3. So there's a little spoilers. There's spoilers. You've already seen it, but for anybody else, there's spoilers for sure.
Oh, for the movie.
Yeah. There's something that got spoiled for me.
I forgot about this episode. Live by only one rule. I don't know, for a podcast. So I'll try to add some. Everybody's quiet. Never make a sound.
So there's an episode of The Office where they were seeing how long it would go quiet in the office, and they interspersed that.
Kevin just opened a candy wrapper, and now they're cutting to a quiet place. Oh my god! Mose is the bad guy that everyone's afraid of. Dwight's what?
If we can't protect them.
The beats.
A Dwight place. Oh my god. Oh. Jesus. That is what the internet is for.
Yep.
That is too fun.
Fantastic,
Thank you
right?
so much. Oh, that is such a delight.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
So speaking of awesome movie-going experiences, I had an experience at the movie theater that felt like I was 16 again and had all the time in the world to go see as many movies as I wanted to go see. And that was when I went and saw Ready Player One on the Friday that it opened. It was, I know there's probably a lot of just like anything. I think I'm going to start taking your philosophy that if I like something, I'm just going to not seek anything else out.
It's been very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
That, I try not to watch. I don't go out of my way to see trailers.
Yeah.
Which has also, like, I've watched a bunch of movies recently, and I've watched the trailer after.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, I'm so glad I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
Because everything is a surprise. But if you're going to do one of the two, definitely no bad stuff on something you enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing, like, I started to hear, like, that there's people have a problem with this movie. I'm like, why? What? Just go.
With what? Ready Player One, right? Like the people have problems with, yeah. What? Gonna have, like people are there. There's a lot of talk about the new Han Solo movie that this and it does not. Things don't sound good. People don't sound happy.
People are never fucking happy.
No.
That's what
All I'm saying is I watched the trailer for the new Han Solo movie at 5:30 in the morning on the toilet and cried like a baby. Like it looks
a newer trailer.
Yeah, like the full length trailer finally came out. Like,
I have not seen that.
Because that's the Hollywood thing now. They have teasers, which are teaser trailers, which are the trailers for the trailers, and then the trailers are the actual movie, and then the movie, like the bloated thing that just.
It's weird because what I said, I like not seeing this trailer, but at the same time, as a thing, I do like trailers, and I sort of love that trailers are such a thing in this day and age. Anyway, but
so they released the official Solo trailer. That looks really good. We can watch that later if you want to. But Ready Player One was it was such an homage to the 80s, which those are the movies that we grew up on. Obviously, that's what we talk about a lot on this show.
Yeah.
And my where your bread and butter and Moto's bread and butter was like were canon films essentially. I loved it's a very specific genre that I know I've talked about. Kid adventure movies, like where there's a kid or a group of kids on some kind of adventure. Flight of the Navigator, Explorers, Goonies is my all-time favorite movie ever. And this, I don't know if it's because of all of the nostalgia that it hit, because it was this beautiful magic trick where, you know how that they a magician with misdirection gets you to look where you want, and so that wherever you're looking, you're seeing what you want to see. You know what I mean? And like Ready Player, I felt like every frame of Ready Player One was like that, where it didn't matter where there's no way you can look all in just one viewing and see every pop culture reference that happens, right?
Oh man, no.
But there's so much in every frame, and I'm not even just talking about the last battle. I just mean like every time they're in the Oasis, every frame, no matter where you're looking, you're like, I remember that. I remember that too, you know, and like, because they were able to jam so much in there, it was this beautiful magic trick that no matter what you were paying attention to on the screen, it was striking some chord with you, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it just hit every one of those. And like, I had called off work. I took a vacation day for work. That was the Friday before Easter. Ash didn't want to go see it, and I got pissed about that because like we had watched a trailer and I was like, oh, we should go see this, and she's like, no, I don't want to go see that. I have zero interest to see that. I'm like, you know, this movie is like right up your alley, right? It's literally about a group of like nobodies trying to take on a giant corporation to keep them from like taking over the world essentially. Yep, I have no interest to see that. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go see it by myself then. So I went on an early bird on Friday by myself and had a giant ass bucket of popcorn and soda and all this candy. And
what candy do you go for?
I went with Swedish Fish and Milk Duds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. What about a beverage?
Coke.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. Coke. Yeah. And then Barks root beer, because that has caffeine in it, you know.
Oh yeah, nice, very nice.
And then the popcorn is buttered with like buttered, of course. Our movie theaters do this awesome thing. They start in December, maybe in November. They start selling a bucket with the year on it for the next year. So as long as and every theater gets the same amount of buckets and cups. And then once that theater runs out of them, they're done. But they're good at any of the other theaters in that chain. And they're like made out of really heavy material. And for the whole you pay one price that's like double basically. But then for the rest of the year, you can take that cup and that bucket in, and it's half price to get them filled. Like before you go to the movie.
Nice.
So it's like $7.95 to get a large soda and large popcorn. Every time I go to the movies, where just the large popcorn is that much, you know, because you buy that bucket every year. So those buckets are a great deal. They make great presents. They're awesome. So yeah, but that it was so good, and I was so excited about it that I was actually able to come home and talk to Ash about the movie. That we went. Then I convinced her to go see it. Like she was like, "I would need to go see this movie." So we went and saw it on Monday. Like we went.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yeah.
Well, tell me more about like what you liked about it and stuff. I saw it too. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh yeah, no, you did say like, what did you think about it? Like, I
really enjoyed it, and actually, I didn't. I mean, I have just learned that I like to go to the movies. Period.
Yeah.
The bride often gets. Over the course of our relationship, I've picked a lot of the movies. I think not necessarily just not because I'm super assertive, but because I'm so transparent, whether I want to be or not, about what I want.
Yeah.
And she'll just do what she thinks will make me happy. And then later she's like, I wanted to see this other movie, you dick. It's like, damn it. But so I've been trying to Like if she'll suggest things to get her to state a preference if she has one, and then just go for that. So she wanted to see that, and I was like, all right. I mean, in my mind, like I had been for probably Black Panther, a few things. I'm just like,
Yeah.
but all of those things I enjoyed. So I'm just starting to learn, perhaps like Ash with you, where it's just like, just go ahead. Like you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Though we watched The Jungle Book recently, or half of it, and I was like, that was not for me.
Yeah, the live action Jungle Book. I didn't like that. Everybody loved it. I didn't like it.
I mean, I didn't like. I'm not like mad about it, but the trailer was fun. But like from what I saw of the movie,
Did you see? You saw the King Louis? Did you watch it long enough for King Louis to hear walk and do King Louis? Like I want to walk like you.
Oh wait, no, I'm so sorry. Wrong movie. What's the one with The Rock? Jumanji. Sorry.
Jumanji.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. That's a totally different movie.
Way
God,
different.
sorry.
Yeah, totally different.
All that long walk, short drink is to say that she picked it. She put the preference. I wasn't excited to see it. Didn't think I'd really care for it, having seen the trailer. But I enjoyed all of it. Like I was on board pretty quick, and it was just a blast. And it got to that fucking Shining thing, and my jaw was on the floor.
I didn't want to spoil that. I didn't want to spoil it for you.
Sorry.
Like no, on the show. We've
spoilers for everyone else.
I didn't want to spoil it for you. I forgot all about the Shining thing because I remember getting out of it and sending the text and being like, "This is totally a long walk, short drink movie."
It really is, yeah.
And it's not just so okay. It's not just they reference The Shining. They go into The Shining, and like the clue is the creator who hates his creation, and that's because Stephen King hated the adaptation. Like, so they reference Stephen King, and they're in the goddamn Overlook. Like, they walk into the lobby of the Overlook, and like, it looks like the Overlook, and just
I can't figure out. Like, it looked like the film stock and stuff. You know, not having it side by side looked like 1980 or whatever. I was like, how the fuck did they do this? Because and then like they like interact. So the one character hadn't seen The Shining, and so there's the moment where the elevator's open and the blood pours out, and then they had to actually flee from that. Oh, it was breathtaking, and such a great like fun inside joke about the creator that hates the thing he created. Yeah, the I don't know.
And they go in the maze, and then like Jack Torrance is like you see he's like a giant chasing them in the maze. That all of that was great.
Just because I don't want to forget to ask this, because you recently reread The Shining. Is the maze in the book?
I think there is not
there
at
is
the,
a maze.
not at the end. It's not really so much the maze in the book; it's the hedge animals that are the real danger.
Yes, okay. But like the
end
of the book
or whatever, like the
okay.
There's like a lion, a rabbit, and a dog. Is it a lion? A lion? I know there's a dog and a rabbit and one more. But remember, in the book, it's so creepy because like Danny's out on the playground and like there's all the snow is just starting to melt a little bit, and he hears a slump sound, and the dog topiary was exposed. Like before, it was all covered in snow and you couldn't see it, and then like he heard that sound and he looked over and the snow had fallen off and the topiary was just standing there, and it was one of those things like every time he looked away, they got closer. I don't think that there is. If there is a maze, they mention it, but they don't. It doesn't play a huge role. I don't think. The rope court they mention in the book a lot, like the game that's like croquet, and the topiary animals are what actually are dangerous because like they almost get Danny that one time. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Like he's like trying to get to the door. He has to look at them. That's what it is. Like if he looks at them, they're frozen. But every time he turns his back to run more towards the door, that's when they move closer to him. And like the dog is like going into a pounce position, like every time he turns around, and like, and he just gets to the door and his parents just open the door just as like the branches like scratch his leg. That's what it looks like. He remembers thinking like, that's what it looks like. Like,
did they do that in the TV one with Steven Weber?
I have not watched that version.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
we should do that sometime.
Yeah.
I just realized that Steven Weber, I think I'm right about that, and he's the guy that did the tour de force reading of It.
Yeah, he did. He plays Jack Torrance in that version of The Shining.
Yeah.
He did another Stephen King thing too. Anyway,
but I wanted to ask that because I was trying to remember what was different about the end so much that Stephen King didn't like, because like in the book the whole thing about the boiler and then it explodes, it's all about fire, and then in the movie it ends up being about like kind of the ice and the snow, and Jack Torrance freezes out in the snow. But
and he didn't like that they killed Dick Halloran in the movie.
Oh fuck, I forgot.
His big in like Dick Halloran. Dick Halloran survives to the second book.
Yes. Okay.
And but the thing I have always heard that Stephen King didn't like was that Jack Nicholson played Jack Torrance crazy from the first frame of the movie.
Yeah. Well, and even if he didn't, he has that gleam in his eyes as Jack Nicholson, where it's just always there.
And the whole point of the book is that he is not crazy. He wants to make better. And the Overlook just gets in those cracks and just exposes them and makes them bigger.
Yeah.
And slowly drives him crazy. But even at the last second, because in the book, it's the boiler explodes. That's where the fire comes from.
Yeah.
And they think that, like, it's alluded that there was always a piece of Jack that remained behind no matter how crazy, because he's possessed. He's not crazy. He's actually possessed by the Overlook. And they think that there was a piece of Jack behind enough that made him forget about bleeding off the boiler. And that's why it exploded. And
yes. Okay. Right. So I want to connect. I like this idea because I love the whole Easter egg thing, and then what that allows. I want just to say this aloud to remind myself. At the break, I'm going to go get my hardcover, The Shining. That's period accurate. I think it's a book club one, so it's a little smaller. But the dust jacket suggests two actors so specifically that would not have been acting or old enough at the time, but it would be very interesting casting. So anyway, for people who are never going to see Ready Player One, let's take them through it a little bit, just because I think it's a fun. Okay. Let's just dig into it, because it is a long walk, short drink kind of movie, and it's a little bit hard to explain. Like, how did they end up in The Shining? I don't know.
Well,
how did you sell it to Ash? Maybe that's the way to go about it.
So it's just basically it takes place in a dystopian future that in Columbus, Ohio.
I forgot that detail. That's important.
And that was a big seller too. Like, this takes place in Columbus, and this kid is poor. Everybody's kind of it just kind of sucks to live. So everybody basically lives in a virtual version of Facebook. That's what I equate it. That's what I'm thinking of. But it's called the Oasis, which is this big social platform that you can play games on and do all kinds of stuff. Think of like if the internet was a world that you could go into, and your avatar, which we have avatars now, but your avatar is actually who you are.
Somebody talking to you?
Yeah, no, there's a comment.
Yeah, it's like it felt to me, as someone who doesn't play video games, it felt like, you know what it felt like in a way, like Facebook meets Tron. Facebook is maybe not the right thing, but it's like you go into the video game in a way to where like it's more than just your avatar. It's like you.
There's like a dance club in there, and there's a store in there, like the big mall in there, and there's like the museum is inside there. So it's not just a video game. It's like it is like if the internet were a world that you could go inside. That I think that is probably better than saying Facebook.
But sort of with like built, walls and open spaces.
Literally like a world. Like you go in.
I mean, it's VR really is what it is for a guy who hasn't put on the goggles and has ready access to them.
And
ironically,
we sound like the Senate trying to interview Mark Zuckerberg. That's what we sound like. No, anyways, it's more fun to be in this oasis than it is to be in the real world. And so the creator of this world, the Oasis, you find out through the 20 minutes of exposition at the beginning that he passed away 5 years before this movie takes place. And when he passed away, he hid an Easter egg somewhere in the Oasis. So just imagine somewhere on the internet, this Easter egg, and whoever finds it would get control of the Oasis and would get to inherit all of his money, which is like $15 trillion or something, like some ridiculous amount of money. And so there's 3 clues, and you have to find all 3 clues. The 3 clues will lead you to 3 different keys. You need all 3 keys. Anybody that's played a video game is all this is gonna sound familiar. And you need all 3 keys to unlock the door to get to the egg. And you need to know where all of those things are for it to happen. And somewhere somebody broke the first clue, and they knew what the first clue was. It involved a race that for 4 years, nobody was able to crack that race, was able to beat the race to get the first clue to get the first key and the second clue to the second key. And so, and also on the same day that the competition started, the archives opened up, right? Isn't that what they're called? Or something.
Oh yeah,
like
where it's like you can sort of walk. I mean, it's like a museum of this guy,
of the creator's life,
of
right?
the creator's
like,
life, yeah, from all these different perspectives.
Who is Dave? This guy is Dave.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I could totally see that.
He meticulously kept track of every movie, video game, and music he had ever listened to throughout his life, and so all of that was available.
When I saw that, I so wished I had done that.
Yeah,
I try to kind of do that now, not. But I was
just listen to these things and long walkers, please tell me if this does not sound like Dave.
Dave's rolling up his short
track of all that stuff, and then they had all this, like, it was all just accessible, these things. So like you could go through and he had spliced all together all of these different video feeds and basically recreated these virtual moments of his entire life, essentially. Which if Dave had that capability would do. I'm sorry.
The only difference really is that I enjoy the narrative part of it so much. I spend a lot of time in the gathering, but I want to construct it into something, which says other things about me too. But yeah, no, that's totally true. So I definitely related to that.
So the way I sold it to Ash was basically like, so this competition is going on, and this kid is like, he's like lives in the slums essentially. And there's a really rich corporation who's like, I don't know, Facebook or Apple. I really see them as like one of those corporations who they literally are. And if you're a gamer, Twinkie, I wish Twinkie was here because he would be able to really contribute, I think, to this conversation too.
Yeah, we get it on a Twinkie's take. We're due for a Twinkie's take.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know how far behind he is in the show, but
so recently there was a big thing that came out with EA, got in a lot of trouble, got a lot of backlash from fans for the Star Wars game they put out, where you could pay a lot of. I'm giving the total Cliff's Notes about it. You could pay $60 for the game and spend hours trying to upgrade your characters so that you could actually compete in the game, or you could pay $60 for the game and then hundreds and hundreds of dollars and do it real quick, and then you would just totally dominate in the game. And so that got a lot of backlash because it's called pay to play, you know? And so that's really what this corporation does, where they've basically monetize, they buy people's debt to force them to basically grind out inside the Oasis to earn them more money so they can fund an army to go in and try to win this competition. Because it's literally, they would have the money of, like, they would be the most powerful entity in the world if they won this competition. And they're literally putting all their resources into winning this competition. And then there's this ragtag group of kids who all happen to live in the same city and are all like poor, competing to try to win this competition. And like the one kid is a loner. He doesn't want to clan up. That's what they say in the thing. And he doesn't want to join that's another gaming term, is you join a clan So you all go in game together to try to meet the same goal. And he didn't want to clean up because if he wanted to win, and buy all this, do what anybody would think. Like if you were dirt poor and you had the potential just like any other person. And that was really the moral of the competition, is like he wanted it, like literally anybody in the Oasis had the opportunity to win this competition. That last shot where he's like about to sign the thing, like, no, I don't want to like totally spoil it, where he's about to sign it and he's like, I can't do this. And then the guy's avatar is just like, he almost like cries. He's just like, oh, good. I just had to be sure. Like that, like Ash even was just like, oh, like it just like takes your breath away. And it's just like, and then I'm like, see, it's a perfect adventure movie. Like that's the payoff of the adventure. It's the same thing as like Mikey, like lifting the eye patch on One-Eyed Willie to like find, like, he's like, you're a freak just like us. And like to know, like, you're like, oh man, is it so just like that scene is those movies, all those movies have that scene where you like, they realize that this person that they're they were on an adventure the whole time. That's really what it, like, they had been dreaming this whole time and they were on an adventure the whole time. And oh man, good stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
So well explained.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get that whole money thing. I thought they were just trying to get money in the game to do things in the game. So thank you for explaining that. It's the kind of thing I don't.
But like,
pay attention to.
I was trying to like imagine watching a fight scene where Chucky.
That Chucky moment was one of the best because that's their one F-bomb, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The one they're allowed. Yeah, and it was perfect. Like, that's fucking Chucky.
Oh.
And that was really the guy's voice, like doing Chucky, and I saw
really?
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were in there, and the Iron Giant, and the Gundam Wing, and a Mad Ball. She throws that bomb in there.
I love the Mad Balls. I actually
like,
have a couple of Mad Balls. It literally says Viewmaster and Mad Ball on this box I can see.
Oh,
I grabbed them. I'll grab it at the break. I'll get my Shining.
I saw that, and I'm just like, it takes your breath away, And he drives a DeLorean in the race, and like.
Yeah,
not a DeLorean, the DeLorean. Like he drives the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and just like, so you have all of that really good fan service, and then it just struck literally every chord that I look for. That's the nostalgia movie for me, is that like kids on an adventure, like when they all meet up finally, because they all look like badasses, in the.
Yeah, they're avatars.
They're avatars in Oasis, like they're all badasses, right? And so when they all meet up in real life, and they all realize like they're just all like geeky kids, and one of them's really young. He's like 11.
Oh, I love that.
And he's like, what am I supposed to do? Wear a shirt that says like, I'm 11, shoot me first? Like, no.
Yeah. And I love when one of them was complimenting that kid when they finally met, and they're like, one of the other ones is that knows him a little bit better. It's like, he knows this. He's like, yeah, I know, but I want to hear this person say it.
Oh,
to me.
Yeah. Let him say it,
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, no, all of that was, it just, man, I mean, I know we have talked about how I said, like, I would just want to go to the movies for the sheer joy of going to the movies. And I was not expecting to get that going to see Ready Player One the first time. And I totally did. And it was great. Very, very good.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I haven't what did you say? The Last Jedi thing that you shared in the cast thread at one point. It was one of those, is it Everything Wrong With? Is that? I can't remember. It's one of those kinds of things. And I got like 5 seconds in, and then I was like, I think this is probably like kind of a positive, ultimately like well-intentioned thing. It was like, I just can't. I didn't watch it. I don't know. So it's let
me see. Let me look at the.
Yeah, I just think that it's important to protect like that experience that you have that was so positive. I had such a blast just watching you retell that and kind of relive that and be moved by that story. That that's not what the internet is for, to like take that away from you. So.
Oh no, this is an honest trailer.
It's an honest trailer. Is that what it was?
of the Last Jedi, right?
Oh, maybe that was it. I don't know. I got a little ways in. I was like, I don't know. I do like some of those.
It's not a Moon bad lip reading though. That was a new.
No, those are always fun.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That one, it's not as good as Seagull Stop It Now, but it was good.
Nothing could ever be. Carl Papa is kind of fun
Yeah.
Actually, all of them are a little bit fun, but nothing is as indelible for me as Seagulls.
So that honest trailer though is really nice. I think you would actually appreciate that honest trailer because I need to go back and watch the honest trailer for episode 7 because if you've watched honest trailers for like since they started, there were 2 guys that do the voice. So for episode 7, they brought back the guy that used to do the voice to be the like angry Star Wars fan, and then the guy that like the new guy that does the voice is the like let's give these a chance kind of fan, you know. And so for the Last Jedi one, the old guys like watch as all of the Jedi teachings are ripped apart, or where they're finally all of the morals of being a Jedi are finally explored. Meaning like on the surface, like everybody's complaining because it's like, there's no way Luke would want to kill Ben, you know, or anything like that. And like, but then like he's making the point, like Ryan Johnson's like really like, what would that really look like if you were a human being and like were faced, like knowing what Luke had gone through? How could you even think that maybe he wouldn't second guess if he saw that much darkness, like knowing what the Empire was capable of and knowing what, you know what I mean? So I really liked it because it really did help articulate some of those feelings that you have of like when you do hear another Star Wars fan just ripping it apart and you're just like, okay, but like really think about it. Again, I just like what Twinkie says, where it's like, how dare you make a movie that wasn't what I wanted, you know? So,
yeah. I mean, I've definitely felt that way about some things, but
yeah.
So nowadays, I don't know. I find that I fight less about movies than I would have when I was younger.
Yeah.
I heard there's this 25 or 26-year-old guy that works in my organization, and I overheard him talking. So he works in like the checkout center. So in a way, it's like what I did at WCTV, you know, like
nice.
We'd be doing stuff and people would come in and check out equipment. And so he's doing that. And I overheard him talking to this guy getting equipment about Ready Player One. He's like, yeah, this is the guy that works at my place. He's like, yeah, they tried to shoehorn this love story that really didn't work. And they're just talking. I'm just back there. I'm like, you idiots.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I also understood. I mean, I was passionate about movies. And I still fucking love movies. I just accept a lot of things now that I didn't used to, or get upset about different things. One of which was like, I was kind of upset, though I didn't talk to him about it. I was like, they didn't shoehorn a love story in there that didn't work. The whole fucking thing is predicated on that.
Right.
Or I mean, like, I mean, without spoiling too much about the movie.
It's the whole point of how he is like a loner. He doesn't clean up. And then the end is realizing that he needs all that. And to the point that it's not about the Oasis. Like, it's not all about, it can't all be about the Oasis, you know? And
yeah. Well, and the whole, like, I think what he was talking about was like the love story between the 2 younger kids, which, you know, worked fine for me anyway. But like that whole thing, like they couldn't have got those Easter eggs without that storyline to get at like what the creator, like some of the big stumbling blocks in his own life. Anyway, I was just like, ugh.
Yeah. If you're talking about it, that's the other piece of it too, is like, well, if people are buzzing about it, then at least it's doing something.
Right. It's fun to talk about movies. I don't know why. Yeah. I should just let people have it. Maybe I should have engaged.
That whole thing. No, but this is where maybe this is what we could work on, is like, we just want to hear this. And this is what everybody is the big consensus that I'm kind of feeling that is coming out of the problem with one of the major problems with society right now is like nobody just wants to engage with anybody that doesn't agree with them, and
oh yeah,
that's how we don't learn how to really have a conversation or communicate or have a give and take or anything. So then it just creates riffs and riffs and riffs and riffs. So I don't know, maybe that's something, maybe we could start doing long walk short drink homework assignments, like Fight Club homework assignments where
or
we try
WPLMR publishing every other week on our off weeks on mixcloud.com/DOL Records, Palmer's first podcast.
Oh man, Double D. Hey, here, wait. Double D. They shoehorn the Rose Fin. Oh yeah.
Oh, Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's
no. We were talking
more
Double
or
D.
less
We were
effective.
talking about
Ready Player One.
They were
Well,
how they shoehorned in the romance. That is a little bit of a shoehorned romance, but one-sided. I think.
Yeah, and that happened. I didn't mind that as much. Like I bought that. Like in terms of Rose being like, "Oh, you're Finn."
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine by me.
So,
well, I would agree with the overarching idea there that people need to hear other sides of the, like, not just their own opinions about things that are important. But when it just comes down to like enjoying entertainment, I don't think it matters if I entertain someone else's.
Yeah, because it's what you take from it, right? And just
yeah. I mean, it depends. It depends on the thing. I'm up for it to an extent.
Like maybe you're right, because it's like the internet has allowed you can find a community of people that will like something that you like, and then you can just talk about that thing that doesn't really matter with them. And so then it starts to like, why do I have to make this content that's just bashing this thing I don't like or ripping this thing I don't like? Why can't I just not like it? Why do I have to make something that talks about why I don't like it?
That's what bothers me. Like, it's one thing to feel that way, but I feel like to say it's an industry is possibly an overstatement, but maybe not. Like, that stuff is not that only exists to like get that. That's the whole trolling thing, really, right? Like, people don't even probably believe any of what they're saying. They're just looking for attention. Yeah. And I'm guilty as anyone at times, and even in this moment of like trying to get attention. Right. But I just think that rewarding that is unhealthy for everyone. But regardless of what's quote unquote good or bad, I've just been trying to find things in all areas of my life, whether it be not snapping at the people that I love or not screaming myself hoarse before a podcast or all these things, like just trying to find healthier practices. And I found a long time ago, like not engaging in like if I want to study a movie, I'm not at a place where I want to study the things that are wrong with a movie. Yeah. I have never quite been, interested in that, but to the extent that was long ago, and I was just like, well, I'm not really getting much from this. So,
well, and there's a difference between analyzing it for the things that you like. For do you remember? Did you ever watch those like Every Frame of Painting that we talked about early?
No, like, not enough. In fact, I probably haven't watched a whole one even that you shared, but I was definitely interested in that. I was like, this is
so like that. So
awesome.
Well, he recently stopped making those video essays. Like it just got really, because he got really popular, and it got really hard for him to be able to use those things without them. He would meticulously trim down segments to keep from getting the videos removed, like for copyright reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, like he would have to shave frames off. Like they would delete it. And then you'd have to shave frames off. Then you'd resubmit it to and then more frame. And like, so it was
goodness,
this like meticulous process to fall under fair use, and like how that's this gray area and everything. So he stopped making those essays, but those were really good because it wasn't, these are the things that were wrong. And it definitely wasn't, this is why this is this is why this is good filmmaking. This is how this director is artistic, or how this thing is artistic, and would look at that creator's creation as art, and not. That's the kind of analysis that I think is credible and that is very beneficial. Like the Red Letter Media things on the prequels, I think, and it's really easy to be like, well, that's just because you don't like the prequels and you like A Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi, and that's why you don't like the red letter reviews of those ones, but you like the red letter reviews of the prequels. But I think there's a difference where the Phantom Menace red letter review is one of the most brilliant film analysis I've ever seen. Like just a really good video essay of why I'm a Star Wars fan, what Star Wars means to me, and how this movie what does not fit into that mold. And then he continues to do that with the other two prequels. And then that, like, the Force Awakens one came out, and I remember sending it to you, and I did just like you. I started it, and he's instantly just like, how can I shit on this? You know, just because that's what I did. I did that for the prequels, so now I need to do that too. And
that's a really good example, actually, because that too is a fun. I would even though that comes from a kind of a critical or maybe a negative place, I guess, that also came from a very pure place. And that's one of the great things about the internet is, like, so that guy was out there literally just making that on like an old looking home video, super passionate about the subject matter, delivered very thoughtful content in this super entertaining and fun way. Like, you sent me that, and it took me a long time to get around to it, and I really
each one is
enjoyed
longer
that.
than each of the prequels. Like they're
that's right. They're breaking the long walk short drink rule. But I thought that was so great, and I guess I agreed with the frustration about those movies, and so that was fun for me. Maybe that's part of it. But the difference then, once it became like a thing, then after that. So after that, it's like a young band signed, you know, they make their first album. They've had their whole life to make it. Perhaps I'm using this example because I'm revisiting my first album and efforts ad nauseum right now. That's not helping my mood, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I'm listening to so much like stuff, and I'm just like, it's tough. I'm excited about where I can get to with all of it, but it's been parts of it have been really frustrating. But in any event, like that, they always say you have your whole life to prepare for that first album, and your whole life goes into it. And so, and if you think about like Pearl Jam, I the last thing I did before I got home today, I never fucking do this. I just put on. There's a new Pearl Jam song, and then there's one other one that I hadn't heard, like a 25th anniversary of Alive played at the Rock Hall or something. And man, did that I mean, granted, once I got home and saw the piss, everything was out the window, but I felt great for 10 minutes just hearing that music. But for a lot of people in that band or whatever it is, like when it locks in, like when you hit, a lot of times it's that culmination of a lifetime of stuff. And so for that guy, like, he made this inspired thing with the red letter reviews, but then they want whoever they is in this scenario, want the second album. So then, like, he's basically trying to recapture and retain that attention by churning out the same kind of formula for stuff. But that's when it starts to just seem disingenuous, and it's just like, well, I don't.
And derivative, and
coming from the place of not like, this is how I really feel about this, and this, and why I poured all this time and effort into just throwing this out into the world. At this stage, based on the response he got, and this is coming from a guy that does the same shit and is in recovery,
and we are not in his head, so we're making assumptions about that too. Like, we're not in his head, and that, like, well, this is just what it seems like to us too.
Yeah, fair enough. But I'll go on record as a guy that does the same shit and is in recovery for it. Like, he's chasing that reaction. Like, he wouldn't be doing that if he didn't have all those views. Anyway, yeah, you're right. I am making a lot of assumptions, but I do think it's this kind of like thing that is rampant right now.
But I mean, I agree with you. That is what's happening. I just, it just, really, it's frustrating because it's like, I never heard that line that you have your whole life for the first album. That's a really
I don't know
good,
where that comes from, but
that's really good though, because I mean, because I always like, it's always like, well, what's the sophomore album like? That's really where the band, that's the, well, like, what if the band's going to be good, you know?
fucking Versus is good.
Versus is fucking awesome. Versus is good.
I just
So yeah,
Well,
I really
I'm
do
glad
feel
you
like
mentioned
that's what he did. Like he
yeah.
there is just a different energy, even in the 5 minutes. If you watch the first 5 minutes of the Phantom Menace Red Letter review, and the first 5 minutes of the Force Awakens one, the energy is different. I feel like the energy is different, and it's not because I hate. I hope it's not because I hate Phantom Menace and I like Force Awakens. You know. Maybe it is.
I think it's a little bit of that thing. I'm sure, I don't know where this comes from either. I've heard Kevin Smith say it most, but like, you don't have to build someone else down, tear someone else down to build yourself up. And that's something that I can certainly find a lot of sympathy with. And it's just, there's just no need for it. Like you mentioned the every frame of painting, like, and that resonates with me on a lot of levels because it's positive, but also it that gets at what I'm after, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so if in terms of going on the internet to find a community about something, like all I really care about, if I'm going to like be quote unquote critical of a movie, is what someone was trying to do and how that, and an exploration of that, like how that creative sort of impulse and design is realized and received. Like that interests me, not what, like how somebody feels about it emotionally. I don't know. I'm getting kind of off track there, but that also comes from a positive place. It's like celebrating what someone did rather than just like, yeah. I mean, that's not like the blank spaces are a compliment. That's an actual like examination of those things as like, here's what's great about this. And I'm sure there's probably other things too, where not everything can be on point, I guess, but
yeah.
But it's different.
I like those too because my perspective on it is how he does I think it's a Wes Anderson. He does the comedy or the cinematography of Wes Anderson or something like that. How Wes Anderson uses framing basically in his movies to accentuate his comedy, and that's one of those things. That's why every frame of painting is so, I like it because it articulates those things that the feelings I have that I have no way of putting into words, and how, when you see it laid out where somebody's like, it's because of this and this, and because he does this, and then he does this, and then he does this. And you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. And it's just such a good, it's like on the tip of your tongue, but on the tip of your mind, where you're like, there's a reason why this works and I can't figure it out. And those are really good for that, for me too. Like it's not just because it's just positive and it's celebrating this person's body of work, but it's also like, here's why people think this is artistic, or here's why people gravitate towards this thing, because it's associated with, like, you know, it pulls in psychology and visual styling and photography theory and all of these different things together into this big hodgepodge of like, this is, and then all these things work together to like generate this one frame that creates an emotional response in you. And it's just a whole new way of thinking. That kind of criticism is so refreshing. It's because it helps you I think that's, I feel like that might be the message maybe that we've tried to get to a couple times, that where you don't know how to articulate that thing. You don't know why that's good. And it helps stuff like that good, not necessarily positive, but just fair critical criticism and explanation of things will help a normal person relate to that and say, oh, that's why I like that. And then they start to see that in other things. And then that might go down the line to help generate then where the next time they create something, they now can incorporate that. It's like all the like process of learning, going on. It's really awesome. And so that's why it's just all this. I think it is an industry of these. Here's all like, there's a whole line of YouTube videos that are like 7 things wrong with ... and it's like, the top 10 mistakes of ... and
that's right. It's all clickbait. I mean, I studied a lot of that stuff for music marketing for a bunch of years, and even to the extent, like, that's a whole industry on marketing the idea that you choose 7 because it's an odd number, or like some bullshit.
Yeah.
That even that is just selling this thing so that anyway, it's ridiculous. But what is invigorating about the kind of criticism that you're talking about is that learning, like, you're engaged. You're not just engaged like fuck this. Your mind is engaged in. That's one of the great things about film as a medium is that literally it incorporates all of the arts. It's its own like kind of microcosm of an industry too. Like there's fucking carpenters involved, like everything.
Yep.
All forms of art are involved in this particular art, which is and then tons of people and collaboration, and then ultimately it's a communicative medium. So like you put it out there, and it has to be, that's a real tree falls in the forest kind of thing, because like they're meant to be seen, right, and experienced and digested. And I'm sure, I don't know, I'm sure obviously it varies from movie to movie, but whatever those critical analysis of the every frame of painting, how much that has to do with what the creative teams respectively, like all the writers, directors, set designers, DPs, whatever, how much that lines up with what they're going for is probably a lot of times not even related, but it doesn't matter. Like that's part of the beauty of that medium, is that that's true of a lot of arts, but like the audience brings something to it, and it can help sort of define and that I'm sure that I've noticed that will, for creators, sometimes help them define what something they could never put into words of what they're trying to do. They're like, oh, that sounds good. Yes, that's what I was going for. Yep. I heard a review or something said in a review about Clerks, in black and white and all this, Clerks, the 1994 film by Kevin Smith, shot in black and white, documenting like a day in the life of like convenience store clerks. One of the reviewers said, it's like, oh, it feels like you're watching a black and white security camera from the corner of the store, which of course is nothing that Kevin Smith had in mind.
Right.
It had everything to do with like budget, et cetera, et cetera. But doesn't that just sound great? And also what that movie feels like. Yeah. So that kind of stuff was super fun and can be filled with as much like creativity. I mean, I'm sure it takes fucking Red Letter Guy a long time to make those videos.
Sure.
I don't know. It just it's a bummer that it has to come from a place of like tearing things down. I don't know how we quite got there. Oh, you know what though? I the other piece I was thinking about was the criticism thing, and I was excited to tell you something that lined up with what you said before, but it's not coming to my mind. Well,
I think in the same way that this like positive criticism that we're circling around, in every frame of painting is a great example of that, and that is about positive film criticism that explores like the art of filmmaking. But that kind of criticism can exist anywhere, in any field or anything like that, and all of it has the potential to engage somebody so that they can learn to articulate, so that they can then take that and talk about, like, if you watch every frame of the painting and you watch how he dissects Buster Keaton's directing style and the art of one take, and then you're going to start you might watch Desperado and watch one of like the 5-minute film school in the
I got my lip right the fuck up
in the
I was just thinking about that movie this week,
extra features of that, and see how he takes that same philosophy and you're going to be able to connect those two directors, Robert Rodriguez and Buster Keaton, from two totally different eras and two totally different genres, who both had the same philosophy. Filmmaking's expensive if you want to make what you want, so you have to like use whatever you can. And so I remember that 5-minute film school, and on the Desperado, there's like, where, because Buster Keaton's whole thing is like they did it in one take and they either used it or they didn't, you know, like the gags either worked or they didn't, and they just did it. And Robert Rodriguez is really big on like, well, let's do one take, we'll use what we can from it and we'll pick it up on the next take, you know, because I love in that 5-minute film, there's a shot where the guy goes to throw the guitar. Maybe it's not on the Desperado one, maybe it's on the first one.
Oh, El Mariachi,
yeah. But he goes to throw the guitar up on a balcony and it doesn't make it. But he's like, we can, like, everything up to that point was good. So then he'd reset so that the camera was on the balcony, and then they just tossed it up. And then the guy climbed up. So like everything up to him throwing the guitar on the other shot looked fine. You don't have to know it didn't make it, you know, like you just, so then you go. But if you watch the Every Frame of Painting and you see that, or even vice versa, like I did. So I saw that, and then I watched the Every Frame of Painting on Buster Keaton, and it's like, holy geez, like that must be a philosophy of filmmakers, is like how to be. That's how you know you're a good filmmaker, if you can be economical with your shots and like be able to look with your eye and be like, okay, I can use up to that point. And to know 3 months from now in the editing room, when you're going to sit down and start going through hundreds of miles of film, you know, and be like, okay, down to that frame, I know it's good. And then we're going to come to this frame and bring this over, you know, like that. And I know they got hundreds of people on set that's probably tracking every fucking frame and writing interns writing that shit.
Not in either of those instances, though. Not in Buster Keaton's movies, and not in Robert Rodriguez's, you know, El Mariachi.
Early one, you know, but like, and to just
but they both work. Yeah,
and they work, and so through those two things, those two really honest 5-minute filmmaking school and this Every Frame of Painting video essay, like I'm able to articulate that conversation about how those two directors are related to each other, like how their styles are related and their filmmaking philosophies are related to each other because of those two things. And I think that I think that kind of criticism is crucial, but it's definitely a dying art, or it's a diamond in the
fashion.
There we go. That's probably a better way.
I hope that's the case, that it's just sort of out of fashion. Yeah. What I was thinking about before that I wanted to say was that, because I certainly don't have criticism figured out by any stretch of the imagination in terms of how to give it or receive it, but I have noticed that over time that it's very helpful to, I'm not sure how to phrase this, but it's good to know what the person either asking you for feedback for, or what you're asking for feedback about,
right,
when you present it. So it's like, are you, because I definitely have done that. Like, you know, something's completely done. You know, it's mixed, it's mastered, it's on fucking CD and printed, and I'm maybe feeling uncomfortable with it, and I'm playing it for people, and I just want them to ease my mind about some stuff. But like, but definitely, especially when I'm asked to give criticism, I'm like, well, what should I be watching for? Like, what would be most helpful to you? And then you can kind of focus on those things to be most helpful for like what the person's after. Right? That's the one tiny nugget of criticism, sort of, if you could call it wisdom, that I could impart. But yeah, also, so Ready Player One was super fun. I want to know what were some of your favorite, because I'm feeling a break coming up, but
we are.
What are some of your What are some of your favorite like Easter eggs that you saw in the moment? You're like, oh my god.
The Mad Ball definitely threw me for a loop. All of the horror references, The Shining, that I can't tell you like how that was so unexpected to me, and just like, because for all the promos, you kept seeing the DeLorean, you kept seeing the Iron Giant. Those were the two main things that you saw. Maybe a shot of King Kong. But the Chucky reference, the Freddy Krueger was in there. Jason was in there. I think I saw Mike Myers in there.
Jason. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. They're on Planet Doom, so they're in there like fight. Like, man, there's
what's Planet Doom? I don't know that one.
I took that as just meaning like from the game Doom. Like it's.
Okay, yeah.
Watch, we're probably missing a big geek reference there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on Voltron.
What?
No, that's what it looks like. Yeah,
Voltron.
Yeah, Planet Doom on Voltron. See. I mean,
that's
like
the planet on Voltron.
That's what it says.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so embarrassed. That's fucking. I was a big Voltron kid.
Yeah.
I got some Voltron VHS to this day.
So I'm the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I saw on there. That was awesome. They were in that last shot. There's just so much that last battle, like big battle. I love the Saturday Night Fever references. Were great.
Yeah, that was great.
Trying to see.
I was really one of the few that I felt like, oh, I might be seeing something. I had a little like prideful thing, like, oh, maybe I'm seeing something that not everyone sitting here is seeing. Who's the guy running for office in Back to the Future? Goldie?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Mayor Goldie Brown.
So seeing the Mayor Goldie Brown like campaign poster, I was like, "Oh shit!"
That's what I'm talking about. It's like
clock tower.
It's wherever you happen to look. That's how you know it was a great magic trick. It's like they tucked things in. There's so much in every frame that it didn't matter where you looked. You're gonna see something that you liked or something that you recognize at least. Yeah, the Goldie Wilson. That was
Goldie
his name.
Wilson. Mayor Goldie Wilson. Yeah, and who is the soda jerk?
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Mayor. You mind sweeping the floor, Your Honor?
Oh, that makes me want to watch that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
So, yeah, man, so fucking good. I swear, though. So there's an orb in the movie that you have to say a spell to turn it on and off. I swear one of those spells is the spell, part of the spell from Monster Squad that they have to say.
I would love that to be the case. What I remember about the Monster Squad thing is like it's in Latin. It has to be spoken by a virgin.
Yeah.
And
no, it's in German. It's
in German. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, It's in German and it has to be spoken by a virgin. And so like there's not a lot of it you hear, but I have a lot of the syllables, the sound of them in my head. So I didn't recognize them, but I would love that to be true. I would love that so much.
Surprise me if it was. I
wonder about the rights to all that, right? Like
I have no idea how they
right?
secured all that stuff. And they only reference Star Wars, right? They don't show any Star Wars.
Right. But Ben Mendelsohn was fantastic. I mean, that guy is kind of always great, but like he was as advertised, or as one would hope.
Because they did not show any like lightsabers, or they talked about the Millennium Falcon. They didn't show any stormtroopers.
Right.
He's not. That wasn't Darth Vader's castle that they were the last thing, right? That what's the name of that? You know, Darth Vader's lair.
Darth Vader's castle? Lair?
Yeah, on the lava planet. With that, because that's where in Rogue One, that's where he goes to visit Vader. That's Vader's castle. That's his own personal like retreat.
What?
Yeah,
I did not know Vader had a castle.
Yeah,
this is all new territory for me.
His castle is on the lava planet that he had his fight with Obi-Wan. Like he's on that planet. That's
a castle. I need to know more about this. How do you know so much about this? Where is this talked about? Did I just miss it?
Like expanded universe stuff.
Oh. That's exciting.
Anyway. Yeah, I just that whole thing. The whole thing from square one, like just and I know there's people that don't like it. I don't care. I liked it.
Oh, they can go eat a bowl of butts. 'Cause
Yeah.
I loved seeing you how excited you were and emotional you were about talking about that movie. I also really enjoyed the movie too.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
just that, like, I mean, it just hit all of the right beats for me. That just, man, was it good. And I love that he put it out on Easter weekend. Like, that could have easily been a summer
Easter
blockbuster movie,
eggs.
but it's an Easter egg, like
That's exciting.
Easter egg hunt on Easter weekend.
Oh
Like-
man, that's very fun. That's so fun.
Yeah.
That to me felt kind of like a Robert Zemeckis movie more than a Steven Spielberg one.
Yeah.
And maybe they were both involved in Back to the Future, right? Like
Yeah, Steven Spielberg
produced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great. Yeah, if you're at all intrigued by the idea of seeing Ready Player
If
One,
you lived
you
in the
must.
80s, you should just go see it. Like, if you
Yeah.
any pop culture stuff from the, like, there's Say Anything references in there. There's it's so good. I have the book downstairs. I'm gonna
I forgot
read
it was
yeah.
based on a book. I've heard that some of the criticism is based on unfaithfulness to the book. I don't know.
That happens all the
Whatever,
time.
who cares?
Like that. I'm getting. I like.
It's in the movie itself. The Shining.
If you don't
thing,
like,
right?
if you don't like it, then go read the book, because the book
Yeah.
doesn't change just because it got made into a movie. If you like the book more, that's okay.
That's right.
You know,
Just like what's Raymond Chandler and James O'Barr then related to me via video. What do you feel about Hollywood? How do you feel about what Hollywood's done to your books? Fucking Hollywood hasn't done anything to my books. They're over there on the shelf where they've always been.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Fucking Colt 45. Pour this out for the crow right there.
Yeah. Well, should we take a short adjournment and then come back and
Let's take a little break.
Get some things. I'm gonna get my Mad Balls, my Shining cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down and eat a quick piece of cake. I think quick piece of cake.
Didn't you upload a video?
Yeah, we're gonna watch that.
Oh hell yeah, we gotta watch that.
There's a video. When we come back, we're gonna see a video. We're gonna see I don't really have anything on the King corner. I'm still plugging through King, but let's just go through the rigmarole. Go to audibletrial.com/LWSD and sign up for your free Audible trial and get your free audiobook where you can download Ready Player One.
I'm sure.
Or
I'll double check.
any of our other books that we talk about regularly.
We're talking about The Shining today. Find out.
There is a version of Pet Sematary that just got released, and I'm pretty sure it's C. Thomas Howell is reading it.
Whoa! Let me check this. This is exciting. Is he in the movie?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I want to know because remember I have this whole thing
Maybe
where
it's
to
not
me
Thomas
Pet
Howell.
Sematary.
Who's the guy from The Office that was in for a little bit? That's from that era.
Era? Oh man.
Who's
I'm
the
not
guy
sure.
that's in Secretary? With
James Spader. Whoa, that would be cool.
that's not it either.
I'll get to the bottom of this right quick. Why can't I search? What have you done, Audible? Why? Audibletrial.com. LWS.
Michael C. Hall. Jeez.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
C. Thomas Howell is exciting to me.
Yeah. Who's Michael C. Hall? Let me see a picture of him.
He's from the Breakfast Club. He's like he's the youngest kid, and also he did the TV series of The Dead Zone.
Wait. No, Michael C. Hall? Is that who I said?
I think so. Are we all?
No, Michael C. Hall is the guy from Dexter.
Oh my God! Really? Oh shit! That'd be amazing because Dexter has all that voiceover. Oh,
Yeah.
I miss Dexter.
Michael C. Hall to narrate his first unabridged Pet Sematary audiobook.
Oh dear God, that's
The
I'm
guy
in.
from Dexter, that guy.
And that's just coming up for me because I'm almost.
Jesus, I got
through,
all excited. I didn't even know who the hell it was talking about, but that still is cool that it's the
It's
guy from
actually
Dexter.
it's
even better. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'm almost through. I'm almost through road work. Really enjoying that. I'm only doing 1 day a week right now, but
Yeah.
then I have Cujo. But I think Pet Cemetery is right around the
Oh
corner.
man. So you're gonna have to listen to this new version and tell me how it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna get it from audibletrial.com/LWSD. Is it LWSD? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Make sure you go to Twitter, subscribe, find us at LWSD Pod. You can email us at lwsdpod@gmail.com. Subscribe at any of your favorite platforms: Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music, by searching Long Short Drink. Or you can go to YouTube where you get to see us in addition to listen to us. Moto listens to all of our episodes over there on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe at our YouTube channel by searching Long Short Drink. Click the bell to get notified, because we also will live stream our recording sessions that end up becoming our podcast episodes. You could always join us for those as well and interact with us live while we do that. So,
for anyone listening on a podcast, after the break, there's going to be some visual shit. I'm going to show some Mad Balls. I'm going to show my Shining.
We're going to watch a video, but the video
we're going to watch a video
on our YouTube video.
Those things you can see on the YouTube version.
We also need to do. There's a couple staff things I want to talk about.
Cool.
Plans for a future episode, and then
I made it through this Colt 45.
You did make it through the whole. I'm on my second one.
I looked it up. It's like a 5-point something alcohol thing. So even though it was 40 ounces, I'm not feeling, fucked up. So that's good for everybody.
Yeah, no, that is really good. Let's take 10. What do you think?
Okay. Perfect. 7.
7.
Yeah,
7.
Whatever works.
All right.
Okay.
You want to know why you should keep plenty of Colt 45 on hand? You never know when friends might show up. I don't claim you can have a better time with Colt 45 than without it. But why take chances?
The power of Colt 45.
I'm cold.
62!
60 degrees. And I actually just turned it down to 55 for her because I know she'll be going to bed soon. But I was so cold.
Oh, man. Yeah. 55. That's crazy, man. Good for you guys.
I mean, at nighttime, like we sleep with the dogs. They're huddled up by us. She sleeps really hot, and she has trouble sleeping. So I totally get it. Like the 55 at night's no problem. It's just during the day where
you guys should get like Nest or something to just like, so you just set it at certain times, it'll automatically adjust.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because the bride's dad, with whom she's incredibly close and talks to so many times a day, even though he lives states away, he was obsessed for a long time that we must have this thermostat that we could set it on timers.
Yeah.
And for some reason we were both just like, yeah, we don't need that. We just set it when we want to set it. But we have, to make a long story short, in the last few months, we got a new furnace and we have a new thermostat, the one he wanted. And we still set it manually.
Is it like a digital one, like a touch screen one? Or like
it's not touch screen, but it's like one of his old ones. But you can totally program it. We just don't, because like we just set it when we want.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So silly. So I know we're bringing the ship in and stuff, but like I wanted to. I guess this will be a Dave's Digs / JC and me.
Yes.
So just recently, the CYBORG Shout Factory release of CYBORG came out, and I learned an important lesson, which is, well, we all know that Shout Factory are they're fighting the good fight to give cult movies the Criterion treatment, but I was kind of late to that party, and so now that I'm on board, and now that I get their newsletter and stuff, and know what they're releasing, and so much of it is things that I want to have. If you order directly from them, particularly if you pre-order, you will get their releases 2 weeks in advance of the street date, and oftentimes with a poster. So I've been keeping a close eye on this CYBORG Jean-Claude Van Damme movie release. It's the first Jean-Claude Van Damme movie to come out on Shout Factory. Hopefully not the last. There are not a lot of special editions of his movies, but I guess we're hitting that cycle in the nostalgia thing, the 20 years. In any event, so we did an episode on this bizarre, fucked up movie in our early Long Walk Short Drink run. So episode 13, a lot of what we're drawing from comes from my additional knowledge about it comes from, my notebook, but also the DigiDream Studios German release of the director's cut, which is called Slinger, and was loaded with a bunch of special features, including the director Albert Pien's commentary and his cut of the movie. The movie was taken away from him after the first sort of test screening. That's actually 88 minutes, or it's shorter than the finished movie. But as was happening a lot at that time, or what happened with Bloodsport almost never came out, and Jean-Claude Van Damme went in and helped with the editing, was able to sort of with an editor. Ooh, sorry, maybe that 40 did kick in. with an editor and some great music, rescued sort of Bloodsport and made it into the cult classic that we know today. And so when there was bad buzz, what happened really is the writer of Bloodsport was in one of these early screenings of Cyborg, and Van Damme was off filming Kickboxer in Thailand, and his friend Sheldon Lettich, who wrote who wrote Bloodsport and Lionheart, a bunch of other stuff, he called him up. He's like, "Hey man, things are not going well with this follow up to Bloodsport. You better get back here."
Shit.
So JC appealed to the people at Canon Films. He's like, I've rescued Bloodsport. I can do the same with this movie. And so they let him, and they took it away from Albert Pien and whatever. Anyway, so Cyborg came out in 1989. It is what it is. It's a fucked up movie. We talk about it in great detail on episode 13. But there aren't like American special editions of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And Shout Factory.
By the way, I'm sorry, just to cut you off. Please follow Albert Pien online on Twitter. He is so active on there. And just like he really, really appreciates fans and like fans who appreciate his films. Like he really gives shouts out to them. Like I just see him pop up on my Twitter feed all the time, and it's him like, "Oh, here's a fan talking about one of my films, and I remember when we shot that," and blah blah blah, and like shares that person's video, which might not get any views ever, and like he's doing, like, it's just so great to see that happening.
He made a lot of movies that you'd be surprised to be like, oh, or at least for me, like I recognize a lot of the films that he was involved with. And his name is spelled Pyun.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we had mentioned him a few times, and
I'm glad
I wanted
you did.
to interject that please follow him if you're a fan of any of his movies, because it's very rewarding.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I wanted to make sure to shoehorn this into an already long and spirited discussion is that I tweeted when I got my Cyborg Shout Factory release. So it was weird because like I was following this for a long time, and the release date kept getting pushed back, and the special features announcement kept getting pushed back as they were in development. And one of the ways that I found out about what they were was through following Albert Pien on Twitter. He posted like behind the scenes stuff from when I was like, I knew the date, and we put it on our Long Walk Short Drink account when they recorded his commentary for Cyborg for the Shout Factory release, which is not his director's cut, which is funny because he's like, well, it's not my director's cut, but all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been keeping an eye on it, and I was like, I felt like it was in April, so I logged on and I saw, oh, that's approaching, and I hadn't ordered it yet, and then you see this thing when you go to shoutfactory.com and look at their releases, order from shoutfactory.com. I'm looking at the Cyborg page, and get a free 18 by 24 rolled poster featuring our brand new artwork while supplies last. And also get shipped 2 weeks early. So I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So it was coming out in late April. So I was like, okay. So I just ordered it. And like within days, I had all this show up on my doorstep. And I was working from home. I had some cameras around, and so I'm like, fuck it. I'll shoot like a unboxing video. Cause you don't usually get a Blu-ray in like a, what do you call it? Like a rectangular box, like a long rectangular box, and it was because of the poster.
Right.
So it's not super exciting. I haven't actually put it together, but I guess I will because I said I would in a tweet that Shout Factory picked up. And so I'll put together a quick unboxing thing and put it on our Long Walk Short Drink account. But so I tweeted that out that day and just so happened to be the first person to do so because it's not really out yet.
Right.
So Shout Factory picked it up and posted it out, and I promised a review of the Blu-ray on this episode. So that's why I'm bringing it up. And so that's what I'm holding in my hand, the new Shout Factory release of CYBORG. So I'll read the bonus features here. It's a new 4K scan from the original film elements. It's remarkably good. Like there's the villain in the piece, like Fender wears these, you can see on the YouTube feed, these like, all I can think of is Oakleys. Remember that in the late 80s, early 90s?
Ray-Ban? Are those Ray-Ban sunglasses?
Something
Aviators?
like that. Definitely not aviators. They have that kind of like, they cover a lot more of your face. And so they're all
like
dusty.
The sunglasses to me, like that Bono wears during.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, kind of it was a little bit before all that. But so the villain wears that. And in one of the shots on the Blu-ray, I could see a reflection of the crew. Like plain as day. Like dude was wearing a white shirt with red sort of ringer tee. He was wearing it.
Yeah.
And he was obviously just trying to kind of do whatever his crew job was, but I could see it. And it's a key shot in the movie too, where Fender like holds up a severed head. He's like, "I'll show you the Homer show." And it's like, I'm just looking at the crew guy on this transfer.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. So there's that new audio commentary with director Albert Pune. So I got this about a week ago, and as the show has divulged, things have been a little nuts. So I fell asleep after about like 20 minutes of that, having watched the rest of this. So I can't quite report on that yet. But the feature at A Ravaged Future, The Making of CYBORG, featuring interviews with writer-director Albert Pune, actors Vincent Klein, Deborah Richter, and Terry Batson, director of photography Phil and Alan Waters, and editor Roseanne. I'm not going to try her last name. That was pretty cool. That and the Shoestring Fantasy Effects of CYBORG featurette were both pretty interesting. It was amazing to see Fender, who's just like a surfer guy. The villain in the movie is just a surfer guy from Hawaii. So without getting into it, CYBORG came about because two Canon films fell apart, both of which were being in pre-production at the same time. One was The Amazing Spider-Man that never came to be. They were going to make it Canon Films, directed by Albert Pune, and also he was directing a sequel to Masters of the Universe. And so they had to kind of make use of sets, etc.
At least the Masters of the Universe one, like literally, they were just about to shoot, and that movie got canceled. Like they had no money. Like
both movies were 2 weeks away from starting to shoot, because like what their idea was with Spider-Man was 2 weeks away from shooting, because their idea was to shoot all the Peter Parker stuff prior to him becoming Spider-Man. And then take a break. Like they were going to cast someone who could bulk up like crazy. So they were going to shoot for a while in like Raging Bullet, and then like, if that's a phrase, and then take a break, shoot Master of the Universe, then shoot the latter half of Spider-Man.
Right.
So they had all these Brooklyn sets and all these kind of futuristic sets. It all fell apart, and Albert Pune came up with this vehicle with it. He wrote for Chuck Norris. Bloodsport had just hit, so they made it a Jean-Claude Van Damme thing, and then he kind of reworked it. But So who was going to play He-Man in Masters of the Universe was Laird Hamilton, who's a famous surfer, who, if you can picture him, I kind of know him because he was featured in an episode of Iconoclast with Eddie Vedder. That's how I knew who he is. But so he would be a good He-Man. He didn't get to play He-Man, but at the meeting for that movie, his buddy Vince Klein was along, who Albert Pune logged in his head as a certain sort of type. I don't even think he was acting, but he ended up getting cast as the villain Fender in this movie. And in the movie, Fender is super intimidating. He has these like bright blue eyes that I guess are modeled after Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West, which I have not seen, but like these super like blue eyes. So they're contacts. They're very unsettling. And then he has this dubbed voice, super deep. Like my voice is kind of rocked from my rageful fit earlier, but I could never approximate it's like it's pitched down to the point where when I was a kid getting into this, The movie came out in 89. I was probably getting into it in 1990. And I was on the tail end of just like dressing up like Batman because of Tim Burton's Batman coming out. And I was super excited about this movie. But in my mind, so if you can picture or remember in Tim Burton's Batman, the flashback scene where in that movie they make the Joker the murderer of Bruce Wayne's parents as like a young thug, Jack Napier, the character, which made dramatic sense, but is completely inaccurate in the comic chronology. But in that flashback, it's like a slowed down voice because it's the past. So he's like, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? It's like slowed down.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I was so excited about Cyborg, and it was so forbidden because it is a deeply fucked up movie that I shouldn't have been able to watch at this age. But I was desperate and like conniving to do so. My dad tried to censor a version on VHS unsuccessfully and gave up after the first 20 minutes that I just watched for a while. But I was like making my own box art on like dot matrix printers. I was typing up synopses and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And in my estimation, the guy that must have played Fender was the same guy that I was able to get from the Batman credits that played a young Jack Napier because their voice sounded the same.
Gotcha.
Because I was a child.
Yeah.
But in reality, both were just probably voiceovers from nameless actors whose voices were slowed down. In any event, the real life guy that played the fucked up figure of Fender is this surfer guy called Vincent Klein, who you get to see in these interviews. And he's just like an old dude now who sort of talks normal and seems pretty nice. And it's so weird and interesting. Deborah Richter, I think, who plays Nady in the film, like the younger woman that's along kind of helping JC fight the flesh pirates. She looks fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to say it. She kind of has like something with her, like a cleft palate or something, maybe kind of. In the movie, her look is very interesting. And it's part of why she was cast.
Yeah.
But now, 20 plus years later, 25 years later, she looked like something out of a Tim Burton movie. I'm sorry to say. I shouldn't have said that out loud, but like that was disconcerting. So all this stuff,
Moto
very
says
interesting.
cue death music, by the way.
Yeah. There's
and he says that Fender's voice in real life is so much higher.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I really, because you could see him in Point Break, and it's really high.
Yeah.
But in this, like, he's old enough, and maybe it's one of those things, like, maybe I'm totally projecting here. But, like, if you listen to Kevin Smith early in his career, his voice sounds one way. So many years of being a stoner later, his voice is much deeper.
Yeah.
Fender sounds not like Fender, but not at all the high-pitched tone that I expected to hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, very cool. Very all that stuff is very, very fun to see. Interesting little tidbits. Honestly, it's not nearly as kind of in-depth or as revealing as the German slinger. But whatever. You take what you can get. One of the like little gems though is there are extended interviews from Mark Hartley's documentary Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films that Palmer hit me to on the same night we conceived this podcast. In that movie, they talk, Cyborg is but a blip towards the end, right before Canon goes bankrupt. But they have an hour's worth of interviews from Albert Pion and Sheldon Lettich. So you got the writer-director of Cyborg and the writer of Bloodsport, who was around. He was the guy that like called JC in Thailand and said, "Hey, man, shit's fucked up. You better come back and fix this." So all that was very interesting. There's a still gallery and stuff. Yeah, I'm super pleased. One of the things that you could see in the unboxing video, but I'll just show you for our YouTube listeners, that the Shout Factory does that's so wonderful. Here's the 1989 Cyborg VHS that I've held on to. It's fucking contact papered.
Wow.
The synopsis I probably copied and credited the actor from the Batman flashback for Fender. I love this this cassette. And in the Blu-ray, here's the DVD from Canon. I think it was like a 4:3 crop. Yeah, it's fine. It's got a nice little like booklet and stuff, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the same. Like that's the poster. Like that's the one sheet, as they would call it. Anyway, Canon. Shout Factory, they have the slipcover, they got the poster, and then they have the double-sided sleeve that always comes shipped up with the new artwork that they've created, but on the flip side is always the exact same thing, but the cover is always modeled after the period accurate artwork. In this case, to the letter to say the Star of Bloodsport. So there you have it. If it all appeals to you, seek it out.
and just for the maybe for the non JCVD fans that maybe like other of these cultish or video rental or what have you films from the 80s or 90s, Shout Factory has so many of those that they do this really thorough treatment to. You get like literally the best transfer of the film that you can get on the current medium that there is, so Blu-ray. And then they get as much behind the scenes stuff as they can, and they throw that in there. You get the double box art. Like, it's worth going to their website because you can just stumble upon things that you're just like, oh my gosh, I want that, and I want that, and I want that.
Yeah, and it's very long walk, short drink centric. Like, they have so many Stephen King movies. Like, they kind of like start to prioritize some of these things. So Stephen King films are a big one. John Carpenter films are a big one. Wes Craven. Oh, it's a treasure trove.
I mean, those three right there, I could probably clean out their whatever they have of those three. Yeah, people so and great. Appreciate all of them. So
Mad Max, I'm looking at it. They did the Mad Max collector's edition.
Oh yeah, that's I need that because I only have Fury Road. I need the other ones.
Yeah, it's good. So I can't say enough good things about Shout Factory.
Ironically, though, like while we're talking about Cyborg and how it used the sets of what was supposed to be Master of the Universe 2 and Spider-Man. Yeah, because that's like Doc Ock stuff. Like, weren't those glasses supposed to be like the Doc Ock glasses? Or
no, they wanted to do some kind of lizard villain. You're right. Actually, let me step back for a second. I think you're right, because what I learned from that extended interview thing that I mentioned from Electric Boogaloo was that whoever was wanting to do this Spider-Man thing, they wanted to do Doc Ock, and Albert Pyun was like, no. We cannot do that. That's way too expensive. Yeah. So they were going to do some kind of lizard villain, which is where some of the sewer sets came from. But I bet you're right about that. About the glasses. That's exactly what it looks like from like 80s era Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well done.
Anyways, definitely check out Shout Factory. What's Moto's got here? He's like, I hope they aren't more than $250.
Good pull. No, it's only $28.43. Yeah, from shoutfactory.com.
No, that's a great Dave's Digs, and I think I have a Palmer's Pleasure. I think that's probably the best thing to fit into this video. I'm going to play the video through the Long Walk Short Drink account, so Moto will get to hear it too. Great. And then we'll get to hear it live. We don't have to play anything, so I'll just I guess I'll just share the screen here, and then
the audio come through too.
Yeah, the audio should come through.
Whoa.
Screen
Living
share.
In the future.
Your entire screen share. All right, let me see here what we have. Let's go. Yep, it's already up. All right. So I'm going to start playing this, and then it should, if we talk, it'll still cut in. It'll show us, which will be awesome.
Very fun.
So this video, for this live thing and probably for the episode, I still need to edit this video down. There's stuff in here. It's probably going to be a lot of me rambling because it's just the raw video that I just shot. And I'm really excited, I think, in the video. So, I didn't watch it after I was done. I just hit stop on my phone and then put my phone away, and then I uploaded it to YouTube. So this is the first time I'm watching it. This is the first time anybody's seeing it.
Excellent.
But this is my current Palmer's Pleasure right now. So, It's 4 minutes and 21 seconds. I know. Yeah, I know. It's so close. All right.
All right, long walkers. Palmer just picked this up today. His second pinball machine. He picked up a Space Invaders on Craigslist. It was too good to pass up, just even for the practice. I've been wanting to build a virtual cabinet anyways. Well, actually, I have already built a virtual cabinet. I just wanted a cabinet to put it in. So if at the very least I'll be able to use this, the price on this was so good that I'll be able to use that, use this at the very least for that. But I want to practice on trying to get it to run. The general illumination will come on. That's about it. And not even all of that. I think some of that is blown bulbs, but I don't think all of it is blown bulbs. The play field is absolutely wrecked. The whole thing. I mean, there's nothing on here that doesn't need restored. The rubber.
Of course, for our podcast listeners, you can see this at the YouTube, on the YouTube for number 45. Also, I guess on videos mentioned, maybe. We'll see.
No, well, yeah, I don't know. This might be a show because I call this Palmer's Pinball Adventure the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Because we'll probably just create a playlist for these videos.
That's a good call. So if you want to see it, go to YouTube for episode 45.
Yeah, it'll be ready by then. By then, I'll commit to that because right now it's still set as private. You need the URL to see it.
Flash. For
this looks amazing.
All of the tests that it passed, and if it doesn't flash at all, it means you basically have to test back to figure out what the problem is.
But see, like the play field is totally destroyed. You can see like down to the wood and everything on there, and it shouldn't be like that. And like all the paint's worn off there.
Like right now on eBay, just the back glass. Second, the main back glass is $300. This is pristine. There's no flaking whatsoever on this back glass. This is an infinity mirror, so it actually has two pieces to the back glass, which means this is the full back glass is intact.
When this machine is actually functional, like I've watched videos of somebody playing this machine, it's amazing. Like it looks great.
It looks pretty exciting as is. So, I'm on board for this kind of thing in general. I don't even need to edit it. I just like the narrated thing.
Putting some shots in here, some actual stills, but I'll just give it a good once over. They were actually, Bally was sued. I don't know the exact story, but Bally was sued for the rights that looked too much like the xenomorph from Ridley Scott's Alien. So Bally actually had to pay licensing rights for all 11,000 of these machines that it produced. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty sweet. If I tease the switch, I can get.
There's so many that's what she said for me in this. Like tease the switch, and there's something about the playing field being destroyed. There are a lot of things. I've been holding my tongue, but I couldn't anymore.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
So you get some sounds. See how the infinity, because the two back glasses, you can see how the lights like go. They look like they go on forever. That's the infinity effect. See how on the back glass there.
Yep. So it makes me think there's a fuse or a short. I mean, there's obviously a short somewhere. So we'll clean it up and see what we can do. But expect plenty of videos to come on this as I restore this and practice this, and you can learn the fate of this pinball machine. Thanks for watching. Palmer out.
That's so exciting.
So yeah, I picked that up for $200.
$50 short of the golden mean.
And Ash is totally on board for me restoring that. So this is like, I'm too broke to have a hot rod to restore, and we don't have kids. So there's you need something to throw money into, I guess. So, but my game plan is, and I'm actually really excited for this. I don't know. Have you ever seen under a play field on a pinball machine? Like what it looks like when if you because you can lift. So like that thing that the play field that the ball's on that like bumps off of everything and you use the flippers and all that. You can lift that out of the pinball machine. Like it lifts right up like the hood of a car.
Oh, wow.
Right. And let me see if I can find an image. Let me find an image of one. Because you need to see it to just appreciate what it looks like. So let's see if I can find one of the actual Space Invaders, like what it looks like underneath. Does not look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. Oh, whoa! Right there. Yeah. That's not of Space Invaders, but this is a good open link in a new open image in a new tab. Copy. So this is for a quick image of like what it looks like underneath. I just sent a URL there in the chat. If you click on that URL, you'll see.
Whoa.
So it's just like it's just like wires and light bulbs and coils and metal rails and
can you share your screen real quick?
Lots of voltage. Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, that's man, that's intense.
So that's what it looks like. So like this right here, this is a coil for your flippers. This is what makes the flippers like actually flip when you push the buttons. And then like this, do you see this like big train, this big like thick bundle of wires, right? That's the wiring harness.
Yeah.
And every one of those wires, like one wire will go to and connect to one thing. So like every light bulb has to have one wire go to it. And there could be like in Space Invaders, I think there's 190 some little bulbs in it, like throughout the whole machine. Whoa. And so every one of those needs a wire that goes to it through that harness. And so there's just like tons of all this stuff. And the more modern the machines get, the more complicated this gets underneath it, right? Which I guess that's not true to an extent, because the earliest pinball machines, those are electromechanical machines. A lot of this stuff is done with like computer chips and switches. Those old machines they were like big Rube Goldberg machines. Like there was actually mechanical servos that would go through and count like how many times they would cycle to get certain things to happen on the pinball machine. And they would actually mechanically work for everything to happen. That's why they were so simple on the play field. I'm going to rebuild that. Like I'm going to redo every wire on that table. Like that's what I want to do. I want to
literally staggering.
I know it sounds like it, but I know this sounds crazy. It is. I purchased that on Sunday. Today's Wednesday. I literally have been the more excited, more focused, better with my eating, more like calm. It like just working on it and thinking about it centers me. I don't know.
That's great.
You know what I mean? Like, so, and the idea, the more I think about at first I was really, so I kind of talked over it, but what I was saying on that video, what I say on that video is I paid $200 for that whole machine. I could take just the glass out of the back part that has the alien on it. And right now there's one of those on eBay and it's $300. The front part that like causes the infinity thing. There was a picture of that so that you can see what I'm talking about. Link in a new tab. So that the front part to get this effect, I know when you see this picture, you'll know what I'm talking about, the infinity mirror. To get this effect, you need two things to happen. Basically, it's like a two-way mirror, but we're seeing the back part of it, and that mirror just reflects back and forth to create an infinity effect. But you need two pieces of glass for that to happen. And so the front piece that's on eBay, that's $200. So between those two pieces of glass, I could get $500 and more than double my money that I have in the table. Right.
Whoa.
So I know I can always go back to that. But again, you got to spend money to do the restore. You can't do that for free. So there's a point where I wouldn't be able to get my money back out of it. And I'll obviously cross that point if I want to do this full, like from the ground up rebuild of this. But Ash is like totally, again, like I don't deserve her. I
would say you do. I mean, I know what you mean.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But I know what you mean.
But it's just like she's totally supportive of it. So like the playfield, like I've already doubled my investment in it, just because the playfield is wrecked on that. There's a lot of pinball going into this, and I'm still like a layman, so I'm sure there's pinball people like. There's pinball people that will freak out when they see me flip that machine on and what the lights flickering and everything. Like, I'm sure I'm doing irreparable damage, but I knew even at that point that I was going to rebuild it from the ground up. So I've already doubled my investment because the playfield, it was like modern playfields on pinball machines have a big, real thick. They have either a real thick clear coat, or they have a real thick, like layer over top of them to protect. The ball could roll on it forever and won't really do that much damage to it. Of course, if you clean it, that's fine. But these older machines, they didn't do anything. Like you were supposed to just use a wax cleaner on it because they weren't intending the machine to like last forever. They weren't expecting somebody in 2018. That machine was made in 1979. They were not, when they made that in 1979, they did not expect somebody in 2018 to like buy it out of a barn. You know what I mean? Like, so the playfield is just blown out because the ball has literally just worn it down to the wood. Right.
Are you hearing this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, blown out wood. Like, yeah, I hear all of it. Okay. But on eBay, I found that somebody had an overlay where it's basically like a playfield replacement. It's like a big sticker that then you have to clear coat over top of that sticker. But you have to sand the playfields. First off, you have to take everything off of the playfield so that it's just there, so that it's just the playfield. Then you have to take a belt sander and belt sand what's left of the art off down to the wood. And then you put the sticker on that looks like the playfield. And then you clear coat over top of that. You put a real thick layer of clear coat over top of that. And then it's like a new playfield then at that point, right?
Okay.
But that sticker was another $200, right? And I'm like, so if I'm gonna, and I had searched around, you can't find that sticker anywhere else. Like that's the only and this guy only had 2 of them, right? And I'm like, babe, so here's the circumstances. And she's just like, do it. And I'm like, okay. And so I committed to that. So like now I have $400 in this table, but I know I can now get the playfield looking pretty decent. So, and the electrical part and the circuit boards and all that stuff, like I know with money, with some money and a lot of time and YouTube, I can fix all of the mechanical stuff. I'm not in the electrical stuff. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the like repainting the cabinet, rebuilding the fixing the cabinet so that it's all like aligned right and looks good and That's the stuff that I'm more concerned about. The like rewiring everything, that sounds exciting to me more than anything. So it's just
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and the investment part of it, as you talk about it, I can understand why you'd want to think that way. But if you think about like what you said at the beginning of how you felt about all this.
Yeah.
And if you think about that investment in terms of like if you were going to see a therapist or something, like
oh sure, yeah,
it's probably a lot cheaper.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and all of that is fair. And it's not without saying that when it's all said and done, I could still, it would still be sellable. Like there's still a market where somebody would want to buy that for some amount of money. You know what I mean? Whether or not I would make my money back in it, especially if you want to factor in labor, like the amount of time that I spend in it, but it just really interests me. And it really seems like something I'm pretty confident I can do. And it will totally be rewarding, and it'll be great to like go back to all these photos in this video and see what it looked like on that first day that I had it. And then if I can get it running and get it working again, to be like, oh man, look at what it looks like now,
Oh yeah.
So
I'm excited to see that. And I can imagine too that by sharing these videos on YouTube, some of people are bound to come out of the woodwork that are also engaged in similar practices that could maybe help you.
Right.
A little like,
and that's the thing too, that I was talking to Ash about that tonight. Like I want to make these videos. By no means, there are men who are striving to preserve these machines, these older machines, like who have worked their entire lives to preserve them. And there is already an entire community that exists that I wouldn't know what I know about pinball if that community didn't exist. So these videos, I definitely don't want to come from the angle of this is how you fix a pinball machine. I want to come from the angle of this is how I learned how to fix a pinball machine, to like pay back to that, like to direct people to that community. Like, this is what I worked on. Here's what I'm going to work on in this video. And here's where I went to learn how to do that, and like direct so like when I'm working on something, I might have a time lapse and I might interject in between that time lapse and say, like, I went to this video, like this guy's video. In this part, he talks about this section, and that really applied to this part of me building the table. Because I think that's between the forums that I go on and the videos that I watch on YouTube and the articles and the old manuals that people have meticulously scanned back into PDF that are like, I just printed today the 1979 manual. You can still see the zip binders, those black ring binders that like you pull the.
Oh yeah, that's how. Are they thick? Like they're a little extra thick, not like a spiral bound notebook you get.
Yeah. There's like that one black stripe that runs down the spine, and then there's little loops that.
But they're thicker. I was gonna say that's how our quote unquote book or a photo book was published. But that's, I think I know what you mean though. Like when it's like a little extra thick, and then they don't quite connect.
Yeah,
yeah.
But they just like
it's
tuck
kind
in
of a
there,
pain in the ass.
Goes through all the they're rectangular. The holes are rectangular.
I don't miss those, but I remember
you can see those on the PDF where somebody had like scanned in every page of this like service manual for this machine, and it's out there in multiple places online that you can download it. And I printed it today, and I could go through it, and I could read the wiring diagrams because I watched another video where a guy like talks about how you read a wiring diagram and like what the symbols mean and what so it's just, again, learning from the internet. It's awesome.
Learning, brother. I'm excited to watch your journey. I mean, from someone who has no impulse to try to do this, so I wouldn't be trying to learn from it.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy seeing like I'll enjoy seeing your journey, I guess. It's a little bit like a perpetual unboxing video for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's exciting to see, for me to see you discover it, and for you to sort of encounter obstacles and conquer them.
Yeah. So, thanks. I think that's kind of what I'm going for, and we'll see how it grows. And that's what she said.
Oh man, I can't wait for all that.
Yeah. We'll just see what happens. And I don't have any idea on like I'm gonna put a video together as I'm doing them. I thought of maybe doing like some pinball updates, but I got some ideas for some cool stuff, some cool videos that I want to shoot for our channel.
I'm excited.
One of them,
and I would encourage our podcast listeners, even if you're not going to watch on YouTube, we'd love to get a unique URL, and to do that, you have to have at least 100 subscribers, and we're climbing our way in that direction. But so if you go to YouTube, search Long Walk Short Drink and just click subscribe, that would help, so that we can direct people to this. And the bell for the live shows. I did for when I was making my second album, I did this kind of video vlog thing where I held every week I put out some kind of video. But as someone who makes video also as a profession, like, well, I was going to say on the side, that's how it feels. Like, I feel like I make a living on the side.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I feel like there aren't enough hours in the day. But when I did that, flip video was new, and that those little recorders, and they don't even exist anymore. But what I had to do for myself at the time, I was like, okay, if I'm going to make a video a week, at first I'm like, okay, it's going to be a minute period. And then even like, I remember Pumps, that was so nice. Like, you never know who's watching or paying attention. And I would never, you would never know. Anyway, Pumps was like, hey man, minute's too short. I'm like, hey, you're watching this too? Okay, thanks. But I still needed a bit of restriction, I found, for myself to do that kind of regular thing. So it was helpful to have that little device, that camera, and in this case, maybe that's your phone. But I was like, I'm not going to put this into the like video editing software that I can use. I'm going to use the simple interface that it requires, so that I can't get too nuts with it, so that I can keep up with it. So I only mention that in the hope that it might spare you some, hand wringing of like, oh, I want to make this video, special video or something. I think it'd be more fun for me as a follower to, experience regular updates that were unpolished rather than more polished.
Oh, sure.
Fewer updates.
Well, I mean, but part of it too is not necessarily like me wanting to pause, because to polish the videos, it's there's going to be a pretty fair amount of money involved in this that I can't just all sync. There's going to be times, I'm sure, where I will be working faster than I will be able to put money into it. So I might have to, that's why I don't want to have I will put videos out as I can, as I'm regularly working. Maybe that's one way that I can do it. Like I'll stick to some kind of schedule while I'm plugging through something. And then, if I have to take a pause because I'm saving to buy my next part or the next thing I'm going to do, I'll just say that on a video.
I remember that's what they said at the time. I'm like, I'm doing this every week, if only to hold myself accountable to say this week, like, shit's not going good.
Yeah.
But there was always kind of something. It did help. But regardless, I mean, all forward motion counts. And I love the way that you're talking about how energized you are about it. And I have zero. I mean, I see Space Invaders. I think Kevin Flynn mentioned that in Tron, and that makes me excited. But
nice.
Other than that, I have no connection to it. So,
but
at the same
Space
time,
Invaders was an arcade game that was super hugely popular, and so they tried to capitalize on that and the Ridley Scott movie at the same time and combine them into pinball, and that's what came into this pinball machine, and then that's what led to the lawsuit. I talked about that in the video too. That they actually got sued for Bally got sued for that pinball machine because it looked too much like the Alien in Ridley Scott's Alien.
I could see a little bit.
And then so they had to pay licensing. They made over 11,000 of those machines. They had to pay licensing rights for every one of those machines.
I think the people that made A Quiet Place might be in a little bit of trouble from the Demogorgon folks from Stranger Things.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
Though I'm really upset. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it grossed me out so much.
So, but all right, you Dragon, you're looking pretty rough. That 40 hit you?
No, I'm okay. I'm excited to see whatever and however you want to share that information. I do want to make good on a couple promises I made to just show some shit. So again, you got to be watching the YouTube video for this.
Oh yeah, let's see.
This is the one Madball I could find.
Oh yes.
Oh, it's so creepy. I remember there was like a home video too. I only watched it once. It was one of those things I rented once from the Giant Eagle in Wadsworth, which I can picture so clearly in the late 80s. It was very different. It was like, you know, like those hot dog stands and stuff like you see on the street.
Yeah.
The initial Giant Eagle video was not much bigger than one of those.
Yeah.
And I can picture that plain as day. And I can picture weird shit too, like movies I never even saw. Like oh shit, I don't even know. Like it starred like Robert Redford or something that I could never see like in the late 80s because I was a child, but I can picture it on this tiny bit of real estate in Giant Eagle. Anyway, one of those videos was the Madball movie, which I thought I had a bunch, but I really only have this guy. And I have like a couple other ones like the Wolfman and Dracula that were like kind of knockoffs, but they're not proper Madballs.
That's awesome.
And not to get into it too much, but it was just on the end, because it was a ViewMaster box too. It says Voltron.
Yes.
These ViewMasters are fucking magic.
They really
and then
I had the Madball that they have in Ready Player One, that green one.
Literally
I think
the same one.
Yeah, like that. It looked like the one that I had.
Oh, really? Do you ever see that movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which one? The Madball movie?
It was a home video thing.
I don't know. I was a big fan of the My Pet Monster movie.
Oh my fuck! Are you out of your mind? We've never talked about this.
Did you watch the My Pet Monster movie?
Dude, we're gonna have to talk a lot more about this. I'm gonna have to table this. I can't even begin to get into this. I've got it downstairs on VHS that I got from Hometown Video, like previously.
Where he goes to the museum and turns into the My Pet Monster.
I can't even. Like, we're gonna have to talk a lot more about this. Yes. And that's why I know. Actually, you know, I don't think I ever saw that Madballs movie. I think I saw the preview on the My Pet Monster tape.
That's where I'm thinking. That's exactly it.
Oh man. Okay, well, to be continued, because now I feel like we should.
Shit.
Do you have a means of watching My Pet Monster? Do you need me to digitize it?
Maybe. Holy shit!
Let me know,
have the My Pet Monster movie?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
And I can't wait to watch it and talk about it. Melanie and her yellow sweater. All right, I'll hook you up somehow.
Jesus,
I think we might have to have an episode on that.
Fuck!
I got a lot.
I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one.
No, not at all. Like that movie's a big deal for me.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm so pleased.
So my mom's she's my cousin, but she was. Do you have cousins in your family that are like clearly not your cousin? Like they would be like your uncle or aunt. You know what I mean? Like
I don't have that, but I have experienced that,
you know what I'm talking about? Like because my mom was like one of like 9 kids. And so my mom was born on her sister's sweet 16th birthday. Right? And so that was that sister's daughter. So she was, you know what I mean? So it was my cousin. She's my cousin, but she was an
I feel like I'm in
age.
Chinatown right now. You know, getting smacked like,
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Your sister, I'm your mother.
No, she's my cousin, but growing up, she was a grown up. Like I would have called her aunt.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like
that helps. Yeah.
But she had this. They lived in like the Black River School District in Northeast Ohio, which is like in the middle of boonies nowhere. So they had a huge VHS collection, gigantic VHS collection. And we had HBO. That's like, we didn't have movies, you know? And so when we would go to visit her, she would always let me borrow a movie. And I only ever borrowed, she had 2 movies, and I only ever borrowed like that I borrowed. One of them was Explorers, which is this little movie that's got River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke and another kid that they build, again, kids on an adventure, build a spaceship and go and meet aliens in space. It's amazing, fantastic movie. I would borrow that one. The other one I'd borrow would be My Pet Monster. She's still to this day, if I see her, she's like, you only ever borrowed Explorers and My Pet Monster. Like that.
Maybe we should do them together, because I've actually never seen Explorers, but always wanted to.
Really?
Yeah,
man.
I think I would like it.
Like, a lot of people have not seen Explorers.
I've heard of it though. Like,
And
I've heard of it.
So good.
times.
And like Steven Spielberg is involved in that one. I don't think he directed that one, but he produced it for sure. And River Phoenix is young, and Ethan Hawke is young in it. And like, there's just all this quirky shit. God damn, is that movie? They build a spaceship out of a tilt-a-whirl. Like, there's just, it's like, that's another great just kid adventure movie. Yeah, that would be a great episode.
Oh yeah, I'm totally on board for that. It's so fun. Well, I'll save it for that episode. But
Right,
but yeah.
Let's. All right, so we're talking about episodes. You got anything else you want to show? Let's do
the last thing I did want to just throw out there, and it's not really proper King Corner, but we were talking about The Shining and stuff. So my book club edition of The Shining, so you can see here on YouTube. And I was gonna say I'll tweet it, but I'm gonna make people go to YouTube for this. So I don't know if you can tell this from but so on the cover of the original Dust Jacket, to me, Jack Torrance looks exactly like Jason Patrick, and Wendy looks exactly like Uma Thurman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously, like at the time, that could not have been. I don't know Danny, but I would like to see that. Like if because I don't know if the Steven Weber version has, but like Wendy is like a blonde, kind of like hot chick. I mean, for lack of a better
right.
And in Stanley Kubrick's movie, which I do love, like that's not the portrayal that Shelley Duvall is able to bring to the table. And then Jason Patrick
she's being fucking terrorized the whole goddamn time by Stanley fucking Kubrick.
Yeah,
he made
and
her a nervous goddamn wreck.
Right. But oh man, even close up, like you won't even be able to see on the video how much this looks like those two people. So I would love to see that version somehow in like some kind of like Ready Player One world, because it'd have to be virtual. Like, you know, they're both too old now, and then they would have been too young. But so that's just a little thing I wanted to tag up on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Episodes. What were you thinking?
Well, let's do the My Pet Monster.
Yeah, I'll see if I can somehow get that movie to you if it's not too copy protected or whatever. But I can't wait. Yeah,
it's pretty low budget. I couldn't see there being a copyright protection.
And it was early. It might be before copyright protection. I might be able to like just do it simply.
In an Explorers episode, and Explorers I think is on Netflix. I'm pretty confident it is.
Oh, cool.
And I should check those streaming services. The My Pet My Pet Monster might be on YouTube. Honestly.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah. I find I'm so frustrated with streaming services. Like literally every time I try to find a movie I want to see in particular, never. It's never been there, except for Kid Adventures. This is a short aside, just a recommendation. I did see The Florida Project, which I didn't know much about. I had a vague notion of, and I saw it. The bride suggested 2 movies, and that was one of them, and I preferred that one. And it's more than that, but it is, as I like to call it, that I've more discovered as an adult, like Stranger Things or It or whatever. It's like serious kid business that is going on, and like young kids, like. And so there's more. So there's more to it. And maybe it's kind of, it's not as like all fun and games, I guess, but it's enough of that. Anyway, so I would definitely recommend that. I really liked that movie. The Florida Project, which, if you're hearing this in the near future from when we're recording it on April 11th, 2018, is on Amazon Prime. It was amazing. I said to the bride,
this is like to watch.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the first time in recent or any memory where I'm like, I'd love to see that movie, and I could see it on one of the streaming services that it was available to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so enjoyable.
Amazon Prime, actually, they're really trying. I really think they're trying to put forth an effort to really take a bite out of that Netflix market. They just announced 3 really big projects. They have a multi-$100 million deal to do a Lord of the Rings television like series with Peter Jackson connected to it.
Ooh.
Another fantasy or science fiction series. I can't remember the name of that one. And then the last one, it hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's pretty much been confirmed. They are going to do the Dark Tower reboot television show.
Holy shit.
Which is like, I'm just like, well, I'm not getting rid of Prime anytime soon now, like,
whoa.
Stephen King is just coming up roses right now as far as projects like that go, like, because they're doing Castle Rock over on Hulu, and then now this Dark Tower thing. Netflix has adapted a couple of his movies, Gerald's Game, and then 1929 is one of his short novellas that got adapted into a movie on Netflix. I mean, he's really knocking it out of the park on media right now. So that's awesome. Trying to think what. Oh, I saw Annihilation. Did the Alex Garland movie?
No, we haven't seen that yet. I did see Ex Machina.
What did you think about Ex Machina?
Oh man, I feel like we should talk about it with Double D or some other people. It was, that's a big movie. Maybe just because I have to pee.
Oh, sorry.
Clearly, but I
didn't
definitely enjoyed it.
That's what Ash and I kept saying is she never even hesitated. She just kept walking. Kept walking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh.
Didn't even look back.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And
I have Dread on the counter. Actually.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have fallen asleep last weekend to the Cyborg commentary and got caught up in some things, I've seen Dread as well. So that's all been on my mind. I'd love to talk about that more.
But you did like Ex Machina though.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yes. And that's not necessarily my cup of tea on paper. So
yeah,
that was.
What did the bride think about it? Did she like it?
Yes. Yeah. We didn't talk about it a ton, but I know she definitely liked it, and I know she wouldn't see it at the time.
I just love the intimacy of it because it's just the 3 of them.
Yeah, you barely see anyone else. You see one other person, the helicopter driver, right?
Yeah. If you want to count the other robot woman that his personal assistant, who was just bizarrely weird at a point, you couldn't figure it out. And
yeah, no, that was cool. Actually, just so good. I can think straight, let me take 15 seconds or 30 seconds just so I can talk to you. So give me just 1 second.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Freddie with Billy D. Williams. Nothing the flyest act in the business, but Billy, what do you do to maximally love?
Well, Freddie, I usually like to spend a quiet evening at home with a few friends and Colt 45.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like a smooth, ice cold Colt 45. As a matter of fact, I have some friends waiting for me at home right now.
Billy, you sure you don't need me to come with you?
Sorry, my eyeballs are swimming.
No problem, man. Back teeth were floating, huh?
Mm-hmm. I had that 40, and then I've almost polished off 2 12 ounces. I'm feeling not fucked up. I'm just feeling so much happier than I was hours ago.
Oh, awesome.
This has been very helpful. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, it'd be nice to talk more about Ex Machina. Maybe I don't know. I miss. It'd be great to get Twinkie and Double D with their
Well, we're
Those are
coming
the
up to
science
50, and
interests.
we said that they should at least be on every
Yeah.
every 10 episodes.
That's true. We should be working towards that. Is
yeah,
there a possibility we could get you and Double D in the same space? Is that?
No, he's like 2 hours, 2.5
Oh,
hours.
okay. Fuck that.
He's
We'll
like
save
2
that for Logan then.
Yeah. I mean, I maybe down into Columbus. So, well, that's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. So, all right. Well, so we have that show. We have the. You ever like how the fuck do you have 50 pens and you grab the one that doesn't work? The My Pet Monster Explorer episode, Ex Machina. Let's do an Ex Machina. And Dread. Let's put Dread in there together.
Oh yeah, because Twinkie's familiar with that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And Alex Garland is. I mean, we could talk about. He wrote The Beach, the book The Beach, and then he wrote the script for The Beach that Danny Boyle directed. That's how he got connected with Danny Boyle, and then he wrote the script for. He worked on 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. Wrote the script for Sunshine, which I love. Sunshine.
I don't even know about that movie.
Oh, that's a Danny Boyle movie. You got to watch that. That's Danny Boyle's science fiction movie.
Really?
This is why I love Danny Boyle, is because he is a genre director in the sense that he directs different genres, not he sticks to one genre.
He's like Ang Lee or in that way.
Yes, like he's just like, here's my horror movie, here is my drama movie, here is my science fiction movie, here is my, because if you were like, I mean, just look at 28 Days Later, Train Spotting, and what's the one I just said, the science fiction one? Sunshine. Yeah, Sunshine, all together. If you were to watch the trailer for all three of those, you'd be like, there's no way that's the same director, because they look like three different movies. So that's why I love his work. But okay,
that's exciting.
So we do Ex Machina in a Dread episode. I really want to do the New Zealand horror, like modern horror comedy, or post. Would this be considered post contemporary? I don't
know that term.
Neither do I. I'm just
that sounds made up. But it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
How do you be post contemporary?
I don't know.
That's funny.
Well, because if Peter Jackson was the contemporary New Zealand horror director, right? Because contemporary is new or current, right?
Yeah. So
because he created this new thing, so they're after him. Because these movies are all after him.
I like it.
All right. So the New Zealand horror comedy trilogy episode.
Well, one of the things I like too about, or I've started to warm to the idea of wanting to make sure these episodes happen, is that like maybe everyone hasn't seen everything. So to take the Alien thing as an example, like I think Pumps is super into that. It's like I haven't seen those yet, but I wouldn't at this stage in the game. I'd be more interested to have that conversation and have those movies kind of quote unquote spoiled by it before I see them, because I'll still see them and enjoy them. But like I think it'd be worth it like to have that. So something like the trilogy episodes, like the horror trilogy, if we can't all see all of them, maybe one person has each movie.
Oh yeah, no,
that's starting to think.
That totally works.
Because I'm so excited to have the conversations, and I might not get around to seeing the movies necessarily like before. It would be harder, but anyway, so that's something I was thinking of that could help facilitate making sure they happen sooner rather than later.
There's the Logan Pumps episode.
Oh yeah, I think the My Pet Monster, whether that's combined with Explorers or separate, I think that would be really fun. Just even if it's not an entire episode, but that's a fun focus. I've great fondness for that.
Flight of the Navigator. Can we put Flight of the Navigator in there?
Fuck
too?
yeah! Oh
God,
man,
Jesus.
that feels appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that
Those
in a
are
long
like
time.
those three. I would consider like definitely Explorers and Flight of the Navigator were like the B knockoffs from those were like the GoBots of the kids adventure movies, like Goonies and I'm trying to think what else. Those
Monster Squad's like GoBots of Goonies, or at
Oh,
least like
yeah.
the
Yeah, like-
Universal monster version.
Yeah, but they're all so fucking fantastic. Like I recently watched Monster Squad. I mean, within the last like year or two, I watched it. It's so good. Like it's just so good. They're like I don't know. Like it's campy and funny, and the kids cuss, and like
Yeah.
the guy he's casting bullets in high school shop class. Like what? That doesn't even make sense in the 80s. Like
It's like whips that's the kind of movie that could have been made now as like a retro thing for then. It was crazy. I mean, of course I didn't realize that at the time. But that's written by Shane Black, who wrote Lethal Weapon, and that's the Lethal Weapon house.
Yeah.
Like they use the same like home. Oh. Yeah.
And what is she? The mom and
she's Robert Zemeckis' wife, I think.
Yeah, but the mom in Monster Squad is the mom in something else that's associated with that too, and I forget or is she no, she's not.
I mean, what I know her most readily from is she's the psychiatrist in Lethal Weapon films, but she's something else too.
Oh, yeah.
She was often, and I think I'm wrong about the Robert Zemeckis married thing, maybe, but yeah, that actress, I think she might even passed away now, but yeah, I think of her so fondly, like coming up on Riggs, and Riggs is like, dislocating his shoulder to win some like petty money, and the policeman's like bullpen, and she's like, detective, you can always come to see me and talk about your problems. Anyway,
Man, Moto is like giving us all kinds of good stuff on here. Let's see here. Should see his Christmas lights. He really liked the video. He said everything sounds good.
oh yeah, Christmas lights,
Oh, Christmas tree. Yeah.
the Lethal Weapon Christmas tree.
Oh, he says he meant Christmas tree. He's like, it's pretty awesome unless you're trying to sleep, because when they came for the Des Moines trip, Double D crashed on the couch and the Christmas tree was on all night, so he couldn't sleep.
Oh, that's nice.
And he says he's probably going to need to jump in on the My Pet Monster show.
Oh yes, that's crazy.
Because he
It's
said
so-
late night, supposed to be sleeping, and I'm forced My Pet Monster movie on D, meaning you.
What? Oh man, I'm excited about this.
In New York on a music tour. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And now he's saying he needs to rewatch Monster Squad. Yes. See, like we should just do an 80s
many things.
kids adventure movies. Like we should just do a serial. Like maybe we
absolutely.
should, like every other episode until we get through all of our favorite ones or something, or like
Yeah,
where we just
do
an episode on a good 80s kids adventure movie.
Well, I feel too like I so want to do that, and I don't want to like cram it. I feel like we just talk about like, hey, you want to watch Monster Squad for next week?
Yeah.
And then we make sure we do it, and then we
Yeah.
just because I
Yes.
think all that stuff. I don't want to like cram it into one show because there's so much.
You're
fun
exactly
things.
right. Like, the My Pet Monster might be hard to talk about for an entire episode.
Yeah,
I could
Yeah.
talk about Explorers for an entire episode. I easily.
I
could talk. I know that I'm pretty confident you could talk about Monster Squad for an entire episode. Between
Yeah,
the
I
two
think
of
it's
us,
all the
Flight of
things that it
Navigator,
leads
no
to,
problem.
right?
Goonies, no problem. I could talk about Goonies. I could talk about Goonies all day long.
We should just throw that stuff as it's developing between the two of us out to the cast text, and just make sure people don't are like, oh, I went in on that, because I wouldn't have known that Moto remembered My Pet Monster that well.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think that might be a good way to try to entice them to come on for the things that they want to talk about. So,
Hell yeah.
I like this idea of a new segment of like our favorite kids adventure movies or our favorite
Oh yeah.
you know.
I found that I've been enjoying that. So that wasn't something that I necessarily caught into like growing up, but it's something that I've recognized recently. I didn't see Goonies until I was an adult.
Yeah.
So I'm slow to and it like I didn't read that till last year. So that movie, all that feels, fresh. Stranger Things. It's
Yep.
It's kind of crazy how that's in the zeitgeist now.
And what's funny is all of those kids are trying to escape something, and that was me. That's why I love movies, because that was my escape, and those were that particular genre of movies. I'm going to say one that popped in that ran across my memory this week too, actually, and see if you remember, if you know these. The first one is BMX Bandits.
I don't know that one, but I know the title.
It's an Australian movie starring a young Nicole Kidman.
Whoa.
About these kids who ride BMX bikes and find like these walkie-talkies that there's something special about these. Basically, it's like these criminals try to hunt these kids down, but they're on BMX bikes.
It sounds like Laming the Cube on bikes, which I'm in for.
Like so close to that. Like, and then the other one, I can picture the box. This is one of those box art ones. The Quest with Henry Thomas from E.T., where it's him. Let me find the box art, because
because for me the Quest is JCVD and.
Oh yeah.
It's like a remake of Bloodsport. That's not good.
Yes, right here. Now I know for a fact you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
Oh, vaguely. Yeah, I didn't know that was him though.
This is another one. That's another like kids adventure movie. Like that
with that gun, yeah.
Yeah. Look at it. Wait, I gotta send you the link to the Google Images copy, because there's this awesome picture of him with finger gloves on. Look at that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 over from the left on the top row. And he's got his finger gloves up. He's like waving. He's like,
yeah. That's how you do it.
No, I like this as a new segment where we'd like kind of like cut back, like decide to watch a kids movie and like cut back and talk about it.
Oh, I love this idea.
Oh man,
I feel like nostalgia. Sometimes like people use that as a dirty word, but to me it is not a dirty word. So I'm all for this.
Oh, sharing a bed in Brooklyn. Yo, that's what he tried to make you watch it when. Let's see, dude. He tried to make you watch it.
My Pet Monster.
Yeah, on
night?
My Pet
I
at
remember
Yoast
that night.
after a long interview.
Yeah, I've been trying to make that interview for into a documentary for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And sharing a bed in Brooklyn. Did you guys share a bed in Brooklyn?
No comment, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And and he says he's on. He's on for My Pet Monster, and he's on for Monster Squad whenever we do Monster Squad. For sure.
This is great.
Fucking Monster Squad. Fat kid farted. There was always a fat kid, and I'm always like, I could be the fat kid.
And I wonder if that's why Pump's called. Remember last week or last episode we learned that Pump's referred to the row as fat kid, because he felt like there needed to be like these certain paradigms, I think, from these movies.
Yeah,
and that was one of them. Anyway, yeah.
That's
my
awesome.
god, yeah. Monster Squad ages insanely well. There's a couple of like unfortunate sort of gay, people called people fags back then, in a pretty flippant way. That even in the I feel like the special edition came out, I want to say, I can't nail it down. I'm going to say 2007, but I think that's wrong. It's a little bit later, maybe.
Yeah.
But the director talks about it a little bit. He's like, Unfortunately, though, like, instead of being like, yeah, that's pretty insensitive or shitty, he's like, yeah, that's how people talk then.
Yeah.
But other than that, it really ages quite well.
He wears a Stephen King rule shirt though. Like it
That's
makes up
right.
for
And it's
so
like
much.
homemade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I fucking love Monster Squad.
Yeah.
But like there is a special edition like DVD. I don't know if it made it to Blu-ray, probably, that has like director's commentary and all this stuff because a cult sort of sprung up over time.
Yeah. No,
I'm
it's
so
like
excited.
there's so in all of these movies I did not experience the majority of them through the theater. Like it was either HBO or VHS. Like those were how I experienced
Verstron video or whatever.
What's that?
Verstron video? What am I? It's
Verstrong? What are you talking about?
Verstron video. Let me see if I can I get to the bottom of it quick. No. I'll find it for the episode, I guess.
I just remember in the 80s too, like we had HBO when we lived down in the villas. We had HBO forever. And I feel like they had a direct line to like all of Canon films. Cause like I remember Electric Boogaloo was like Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo was on there.
Yeah, JC's
like they would run that all the time. They would run there's a couple other Canon films that they would just cycle through all the time that I watched. But yeah, man, these adventure movies, they were my bread and butter.
There it is. Vestron video.
What is Vestron?
You would know it to see the I'm going to send you the just real quick. Hopefully I didn't add an extra character there to mess it up. I might have added a period by accident.
Yep.
That's
totally know that logo.
They're kind of back though. Like they have some kind of home video presence.
Yeah.
I can't remember how I came across it, but I'm like, oh my God. I'm so pleased that these people are continuing this.
That's
CBS
awesome.
Fox. Oh, there's so much to look forward to here. This has been such a sort of palate cleansing, soul soothing. I literally today, I don't know how much of this to share. Like you were still recording tonight, all this. I'm like, yeah, and all that's bouncing back and forth between like trying to do the work. It's I don't know. A big thing for me is like if I could just do the work that I'm supposed to do during the day, the video that I'm supposed to make, that'd be great. That's awesome. I can do it. I'm doing it for somebody else. Happy to do it. Go home, do my own shit. But on top of that, there's like the thing that I keep coming back to is like I want to feel good about I want to feel good about the thing I'm making for someone, but I don't want to have to feel guilty about all the things that I can't be doing right now. All the videos I can't be making. And there's been this time of year, there's a huge project that always has to like hundreds and hundreds of hours and all these people has to be churned out. But for some reason, like the constituency I serve, their brains turn and like all these other requests come in. It's a nightmare. Anyway, so I'm bouncing that. The bride's trying to do our taxes and I'm trying to like not freak out in the things that she asked me to look for. So I'm trying to archive. I had a huge win this last week. But I'm trying to put together this 10th anniversary thing of the Dog Days, my first album. I recorded on this software, and all of these backups were in this proprietary software that I could not access. And I thought were gone forever beyond like the elements that I was able to preserve. And there are a few songs that I was like, man, it'd be really nice if I could fix this or like not record anything new, just go back, tweak some stuff. And between something Moto found and some resources I had at work, like I was able to rescue everything from these like discs that 134 discs that I had made. Yeah. Not all of which but a lot of shit anyway. So I'm like, I'm just freaking out. Like nothing's really wrong, but just too much going on.
Yeah.
literally 3 computers in front of me, trying to do a million things.
Stimmed
Go to the
out.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, freaking out. Led to the day that I described. But I went to the bathroom for more than 30 seconds, and then and I was literally like, how do you go about getting into therapy? All this stuff. And my mental process is going through that. I'm like, I can't imagine anything therapy could truly do for me at this moment that I couldn't do for myself, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wait a second. I literally stopped in my mind before I wiped. I was like, wait a second. I got dude therapy tonight, man.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of like shifting my whole sort of mental processes to make me now go to sleep feeling so much better. So thank you for providing that.
Oh,
And
buddy, I'm so glad
much
you
more.
feel better. I'm sorry you had a shitty day.
You too. I'm sorry we were a mirror image of frustration at the beginning, but I hope you feel as good as I do coming out of it.
Absolutely. On my face, I could not explain to Ash other than after the pumps, the last episode we recorded with Pumps. I was like, she's like, how was the show? And I was just like, my face just hurts because I'm from like laughing and smiling so much.
It's killing me.
And
sorry, that's an old bride joke.
And my cheeks hurt tonight again, like from just like smiling and laughing so much. So no, it totally, this like is this great thing that I'm still going to continue to do, even if it's for 5 people on the, like, you know, they're my 5 people and it matters to us, and that's totally worth it, you know? So,
I totally forget sometimes that people are listening.
Yeah. And so that's just an added bonus, you know? So,
yeah. This
I have
so much cheaper than therapy.
I have such great ideas for the future of the show and like things that we want to do and like exciting things. There's one, I don't want to spoil it, but I almost have to because it's tied to the pinball thing. But there's a body shop. This is just a little teaser, and then we can get off here. But this is an idea that I have. I might be able to put my hands on a 1989 Batmobile.
Whoa.
In Dayton.
Oh my fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to make that happen. There's a body shop here in Dayton that was commissioned for making the Batmobile. And so if you drive by their shop, they have it in their front. They have like their mock-up in the front window. Like it's just there. You can just see it. It's crazy.
Whoa.
So I'm going to try to shoot a video of that for the show.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
And talk to these guys because I really want them. I want to see how much they would charge and if they would let me shoot video of them clear coating the playfield when I get to that point for my pinball machine. So, which would be another video with them. So yeah, we'll that's something to come. But buddy, this has been an absolute blast. But it's 12:15. We both got to work tomorrow, which sucks. I get to work from home. I don't know if you do.
No, not for the, but that's okay.
Sucks.
This was so worth it.
It's totally worth it though. Don't stay up all night. Don't drink after we're done potting. Like
No, I'm just like I'm gonna go finish the Cyborg commentary.
No, don't go listen to that commentary. Go curl up with the bride and cuddle a little bit and just feel good about that and get a good night's sleep. Better call. Yeah. Better call, Saul. So, remember, reach out to us at LWSDpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at LWSDpod. You can subscribe at your favorite platform by searching for Long Walk Short Drink. You'd be able to find us on there to get our audio podcasts that come out every other Tuesday. Subscribe on YouTube. We're still trying to get that 100 subscribers so that we can get our unique URL. We're kind of close to that. So please subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell to get the notifications for all of our live recordings of our podcast episodes, which this happens to be if you're watching this right now. Head over to our sponsor, audibletrial.com/LWSD. Sign up for your Audible trial and get your free audiobook. Listen to Dexter read Pet Sematary.
That's right.
Or
you could listen to Campbell Scott read The Shining, or did I close this? You could listen to Will Wheaton. Reading. Oh yeah, that's a great one. You could listen to Will Wheaton read Ready Player One.
Oh, that's great!
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so sign up for one of those. I am Palmer.
I'm Dave.
Podcasting from Dayton, Ohio. I had to remember where I was at.
And I'm Dave, signing off from Northfield, Minnesota.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Long Walkers. You have a great night.